Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the JESS MARSHALL Podcast. This week, I've got Scheer on the podcast. It's going to be awesome. We're going to talk about family, faith, fitness, health, wellness, all that good stuff. But have you ever heard that term, trust your gut? It probably means more to you after you listen to this podcast than it does right now. It all starts in the gut. Hope you enjoy the podcast. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the JESS MARSHALL Podcast. Wow. Mark that swipe. Bring it. I've learned a lot about meditation, hydration, plant medicine, depression, substance abuse, all kinds of stuff by talking to people, putting our phones down and having a long conversation with. I don't even get to have that very often with my fiance.
Go that deep with most people.
Well, your phone is there, the dog is there, or the TV is on, or whatever.
I don't know how to be surface level with people anymore with
Good
my
for
work,
you.
because all I am is a coach.
Yeah.
Is asking people questions and
I'd
talking about gut stuff, and then
let's promote the hell out of the coaching stuff too.
I actually am launching next month, so it depends on when we drop this, my mastermind.
Okay, awesome.
So I do one-on-one business coaching, but I've been wanting to do group-based. And
very cool. Yeah, I saw Amberly did a mastermind in North Carolina, last week or the week before, I think.
I was a speaker at that.
Yeah, awesome. Very
fun.
Cool. Yeah, I kind of put the social media down there for a couple of weeks because I got my eyes fixed. That's why those are there.
LASIX?
Yeah, it's a version of that.
I did that. Mine are botched. I think I need to redo it.
Who did it?
I don't know. Someplace in McKinney when I lived out there.
Okay.
And it had good reviews and everything, and it was the worst experience I ever had. And I seriously think I need to redo it because I still am like...
How long ago?
2 years ago.
Yeah, I did a lot of research. Mine have taken way longer to recover than I was led to believe, but I have some other like concussion issues and eye sensitivity issues. Literally, the light sensitivity, I mean, insane. And when I was just skiing, so I had like a goggle over a sunglass. It was out of control. I got the LASIK.
LASIK. It's so like the fancier version.
Well, I guess they say it's more aggressive and it takes longer to heal from it. But the guy was like, "What do you do in your spare time?" And I was like, "Well, I like to box and I play rugby." And he was like, "Okay, we're not going to do this other one.
Yeah.
We got to do this one."
Then they put the thing in your eye and pried open. That's the worst part.
Wasn't the exam before though, where like they do the tear test? I was like, I understand torture, like why torture works.
The whole thing's torture. I don't know, but the pressure, the thing they put on your eyeball, I think
the air.
My guy was mean. I just think that's why my experience is so bad.
The doctor,
because I could not keep my eye open. I actually have literally have an appointment next week. A little bit of something called ptosis. So I have heady eyes where the muscle here. So sometimes it's like sexy eye, but it's actually like...
It's not intentional.
It's not intentional.
People are like, "Oh, what's up? Are you looking at me?" And you're like, see, I have this thing. You got to walk around with like a card hanging around your neck. You know, like people get in car wrecks.
I have a disorder.
Yeah, they read it. I have a disorder. Please. I probably lost my way.
Seriously, all the time people are like, "Rachel, your eyes look half closed in these photos." And I'm like, I'm trying.
It's either that or you've just been hitting the green
any little
way
bit of
too
like
hard.
alcohol or like that, they'll really like get heavy too.
Really?
Yeah. So I've been thinking about getting the surgery. They basically take the muscle and then they like pull it up. It's not like the skin. People are like, "Don't cut." I'm like, not trying to do that.
Yeah.
For like wrinkles, it's like pulling this muscle that's been weakened.
And they put the scar in the eyebrow, right?
I think so.
Yeah, because my brother-in-law had that done because he's a fighter and he's broken his eye orbitals a couple of times. So literally, like all of that. He looks like you're probably too young and don't like basketball. But remember Sam Perkins from North Carolina?
I don't know anything sports related unless it's like big names. And I'm not about to say someone's name. I was like, I better not.
Tom Brady. You know Tom Brady
yes.
and Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods?
I know those guys. Yeah.
I can totally...
Big names, I'll know. But
I think that's cool. I think it's a weird thing that guys think that they want like a girlfriend who's like cool, like they could play fantasy football with.
I just have other bigger things in my life than to keep up with sports.
Sports is, you get to a certain point in life, even if you're a sports guy, where it's very...
it's like video games, in my opinion. What is it doing for you? That's how I
Never
feel.
played one in my life.
Yeah, but that's how I feel. Is like unless if you're playing the sport, that's different. Or unless like your best friend is in it, or your family, your
Yeah.
son. But if it's just
Well, the getting together and rooting for other dudes and then wearing like a shirt with their name on the back of it, and like that's like a
Yeah.
thing for a lot of people, is not something I've ever understood.
yeah,
just
and
always
most of
been
the
like-
guys are like pretty overweight, and like it's like you just want to be. It's like you're living your life vicariously through them.
There is a lot of that, right? This vicarious. Well, everyone needs community, right? Lots of people don't think they do, but they do. We do. We need that. We're like.
They need to be against someone. Like I win, you lose. There's
Well,
it's ego.
That's a
Ego.
tribal thing for sure. But the human race is all connected. Like no matter how new age you are or not. I mean, whether you are faith-based, so you believe the Bible or a lot of what's in the Bible, or you read other teachings, or you just look at nature itself, like aspen trees. Aspen trees all share a root system. They're all intertwined. So like an aspen tree goes down with a root, and then 2 or 3 years later, it's shooting up new trees. Humans are the same way. Some people get their community because they're Cowboys fans. Some people get their community at the gym. Some people get their community at the jiu-jitsu.
True.
Some people, but everyone
I guess if
needs
it's
community.
True community. There's fake community.
Yeah. I also think that
that's
people.
like what social media is. And I think like we sacrifice, like same thing too. And it's like, is it actually community, or are you just, talking shit online with sports?
Yeah. Or other stuff, or politics, which is sports to a lot of people. It's sports with
I'm not
ties
in any
on.
of it.
That's pretty. That's good. I stopped being into politics.
I'm probably pretty bad to the extent where people are like, "Did you know there's a tornado coming tonight?" Like in Dallas, and I was like, "No, I did not know. I don't look at anything, and
You don't have
I
your
know
weather
it's
alerts
happening."
on.
Well, my house, it eventually went off because I have the security like literally
Yeah.
throughout my whole house. It was like tornado warning with like the security system.
Where do you live?
I live right by White Rock Lake in Dallas.
Yeah, and they were probably tornado sirening you then.
Yeah, that's how I
too.
found out.
Yeah.
I was sitting on my my 4-season porch. It was like awesome, and then all of a sudden the sirens started going out, and I was just like, "Cool, this is awesome."
When those
was,
go
like,
off, you know
observing.
you're not supposed to go outside to see what's going on.
I live
though.
life on the wild side.
What's up out here, y'all? What's
I'm
this?
like, look at the sky. It's
what's
so
this
cool.
racket? Yeah.
No, I actually literally went in my garage, opened the garage, and sat on my yoga mat and just like watched.
Yeah, that's
it all.
awesome. That's a good
Yeah.
approach. I support that. That's very cool. White Rock's awesome
I
when
figured
it
you'd like
rains a lot.
see it, and then I could go into my basement. I don't know.
Yeah.
People are sitting there like, okay, this blonde girl.
Well, I think people around here are too afraid of tornadoes. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm not from here, but I've lived here for a long time, and it's just crazy how worked up people get. I'm like, yeah. I mean, the chances of it
I get
actually,
worked up over everything.
if the,
Yeah.
I
Are we
feel-
recording?
Yeah, we just kind of get rolling.
We are.
Are we? Yeah, we're
know.
rolling,
Cool.
right? I just kind of like to
We
talk.
have an aspen
Yep.
tree pulled up here. You can pull up
Yeah,
stuff.
this is the largest organism in the world.
Yes.
This is one tree. Where is it? It's in
Who is
Utah.
This? Is this God?
That's Sohail, our producer.
Oh yeah.
AKA Morgan Freeman.
That's
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, that's the largest organism in the world.
Trees
An
are so
aspen
cool.
grove. Trees are. But trees are like humans though. We need community. Whether or not our community that we think is helping us is actually helping us, like you said, is up for debate. Because social media is extremely fake. Like the
False
amount
sense
of
of community.
yeah, the amount of times that you actually get together with actual humans, or that we do, or the collective we do, and sit down and share ideas. I mean, that's part of your business now, right? But a lot of people and when the cold came out at the beginning of 2020, and they were like, everyone stay away from everyone else. A lot of people were like, okay,
Yeah.
because they, oh, I can't go work out. Oh, I can't go to the gym. Oh, I'm not supposed to go out. Okay, I'm just going to Netflix and Uber Eats this thing, and it's all going to go away. And so we've like become very segmented and fractured. Just as like, if you notice when you go try to just have an interaction with somebody that you've never met before, it can be really herky-jerky because it's like we're all out of practice.
Yeah, we don't know how to have real conversations anymore at all. It's awkward.
They made everybody go to church on the internet, man.
Well, everything was
Right.
moved to internet. Like, actually, I built my entire business from being a one-woman show when COVID happened. I was like, I'm going to start a podcast. This is like the perfect time to like grow my business where everybody like got really, really scarcity type mindsets and like tried to hoard everything. I was like, what a great time to grow a business. So I think a lot of people took advantage of that time in their life. But I agree. I think, everything went virtual and we created these full sense of communities. Doctors' appointments are all now virtual. My practice is virtual and I'm able to help people now that I would never be able to reach. So there's the incredible part about everything being virtual, but I do think it's not true connection. Like, I can't say I get the same connection with people even doing podcasts when it's virtual versus when we're sitting here face to face, able to have a conversation, look somebody in the eyes, be able to interact with them. It's a completely different...
Pick up on the body language, the energy. Yeah. It's hard to tell that's why I don't do any of these virtual. I've waited a year or two to have people on, whether they were out of town or they just couldn't, because of virtual. I don't watch them. And get much out of them. And I do this podcast actually for myself. This is this is like a personal improvement journey for me more than it is content creation's cool, whatever. But meeting people who, I don't know if I said to you, yo, can I meet you at the Paradise Cafe by the Galleria and let's talk for 2 hours? Yeah, I'm sure on the internet you get a lot of weird DMs.
And the audio sucks.
It does suck.
On virtual.
Yeah. Yes, that's Sohail is the audio ninja. But yeah, man, the face-to-face part of it, the exchanging of energy with people who are like-minded or sitting across from someone who lives their life completely differently, who has completely different viewpoints, and being able to almost step outside of yourself and see things the way they see them to try to understand instead of just going, no, wrong, what you believe, no, I don't know. I think we'd all do ourselves a favor if we tried to do things that way a little more. I heard this really cool thing from somebody, and I don't even know who to credit it to, like a month or two ago. And they said they started living their life like every new person they met had something to teach them. And so every new person that they met, they approached them like a mentor. Like, what do you have to teach me that I don't even know I don't know? And I thought, wow, that's a very interesting way to live life, where you're not just walking around going, what I believe is, now I'm all about be firm in your beliefs, right? If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. But I also think that the world is huge. It's big. I mean, you've traveled, I've traveled. There's a lot of people who live life in a lot of different ways, and they're getting by. And they're making it happen, and it's just interesting to see that and like gain an appreciation for it. And you can't do that online or virtually.
And you just don't get that same level of intimacy, and people will say things they would never say. I was actually in the airport, I think it was 2 weeks ago, traveling back from Amberley's speaking event that I talked at, and it was so cool overhearing this conversation between, it's where people are checking in their bags. I'm not sure what that's called, but the front desk. And it's the girl who's checking in the bags with the girl next to her. And they're talking about, well, you could make more money if maybe you work behind the desks and you did the phone calls kind of stuff. And there's this dialogue going back and forth between the two. And the girl's like, heck no, am I going to do a desk job and talk to people on the phone? And there was this interesting moment where she turns to me and she says, you wouldn't give me the same respect as you would here face to face, as you would as if you were on a phone call, right? And she was like looking for that validation. And I was like, yeah, people wouldn't. Like, that's true. And it was this whole dialogue back and forth about them wanting to work face to face with people, like checking in bags, putting it on the carousel, versus doing the phone call type, people who have their issues with their planes, who are always angry and they're so mean to the other person on the line. And she's like, there's no way I would do that, because people would not ever treat me the way they treat people on the phones as what they would face to face. And I just overheard this whole conversation, and I was just like, that is so true.
It is
It is
true.
so accurate. And it was like one of those really cool moments where I was in like observation mode and just like very conscious and present. And I think that's another piece too, is like most people are very unconscious. They're not awake. They go through life stuck.
On autopilot.
They're on autopilot. They're in their head. They're in this like false reality of what is actually real. We're not present. We're a human doing, and we have a dysfunctional relationship with the present moment. A lot of ways. And I lived my life for like that for most of my life. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs even live their life that way too. So what does that mean? It means that we actually dislike where we are at right now. We don't want to be here right now. We want to be everywhere else. So we view the present moment either as a means to an end. We view it as an obstacle we have to get around, or we even loathe or hate it. And it creates this resistance, this tension. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs in this masculine energy even operate a lot in this capacity, right? Where they are striving and driving, and we see the result of burnout, exhaustion. I was that quite a bit in my business because I came from even being broke. I had no money growing up. So I had this like innate desire of like, I want to create something out of my life. I want to become someone. And there was even moments where I didn't love what I was doing, but I was just trying to get to a certain place. And I think most people operate that exact way. And kind of bringing this back full circle into technology and social media, I think it is this alternate reality where we're not actually real. We're not present. We're not actually living our life. And even when we are in our life, we're still not really in our life. We're actually somewhere else. And we have this dysfunctional relationship with the present moment. And when we have this dysfunctional relationship with the present moment, that is actually the result of, or the creation of anxiety, the creation of unhappiness. When we are actually fully present and being in our life, like fully present. Like when I was in that moment with those ladies in the airport, like I was fully present. And I felt at peace. I felt like, wow, like I'm connecting with these ladies. I have, what maybe I would feel like I had nothing in common with, where normally most people, what would they be doing? They'd be on their phones. They'd be texting. They'd be like, oh, come on, hurry up, ladies. Like finish up your conversation so I can just check in my bag so I can hurry up and I can get to my place where I need to sit. And it was like this really cool moment of the conversation that they were having, but also just being able to be fully present. I think we're in an epidemic of just that, where a lot of people are asleep, they're not awake, and they wonder also why they struggle so much with happiness in their life, but they're not actually living their life. They're trying to get somewhere else.
Man, yeah. Very, very, very loaded.
I went deep real fast.
That was awesome. No, so when I first started this podcast, it was every entrepreneur that I know, every like DIY person that I knew is who I started just having on. If you're out there and you're making your own way, let's talk about it. How did you get here? How is it? But I know that a lot of those guys and gals do just barely make it through some days, let alone weeks, months, right? It's like this survive instead of strive comparison.
What's the point of it?
Exactly. And I think then you see what weekends devolve into for a lot of people, right? So it's this, I got to survive the week, and then Saturday and Sunday I'm going to let off steam, which a lot means different things to different people, but in our culture often means drinking a lot. Mm-hmm. And then Monday arrives, they hate it, and they start the cycle all over again. And I have this passion for when I talk to people, because I've always run my own stuff. I've never worked for anyone, not ever, never. And a lot of my friends will come to me and say, what do I need to do to like get this started? And I will say, you just got to get started. You just got to just get started. You want to open a restaurant? Go find a space, find out how much it is, talk to your friends, raise some money, get rolling, or start smaller, start a food truck, but just get started. And the passion that ignites for some people, it's very stressful starting businesses, as you know, but I have found, and maybe your relationship with anxiety or stress is different. I have no anxiety, I have no stress when I am all in on the moment. Mm-hmm. When I am all in on the project, when I'm all in on the plan. None.
Well, what does it mean to be all in, right?
Yeah, and it's the downtime that I like. Holidays, like hard, that's not an easy time for me. because we're not chasing, we're not building, we're chilling and doing family time, which is important, but is just not necessarily my favorite thing to do. Yes, all in means something different to different people, for sure.
So when you say all in, meaning fully present in what it is that you're doing.
Yeah, because I
fully
think
immersed.
a lot of anxiety, like you said, there's several different opinions of what anxiety is. There's different clinical definitions of what it is, but it is often thinking about things you don't have control over, or not wanting to be where you are doing what you're doing at that time, like hating it, which I think is what you probably help a lot of people work around when you coach them.
Yeah, I think at the core, anxiety is trying to control a future event that hasn't actually taken place yet. And very often the anxiety that we create is a byproduct of, I want to control something. I want the outcome to look a certain way. I'm afraid it's not going to look this way. You know, how am I going to show up? What am I going to say? Like, that's the foundation for anxiety, essentially. And even in the moments too, like in that, where are we? We're not here. We are trying to control something, just like you said, we don't have control over. And at the same time, we're also not present. So we have that dysfunctional relationship and we're not here. I think truly we're at peace when we're either in number one, acceptance fully. So it doesn't mean you'll love everything that you do, right? But you can be accepting of everything that you do. I don't have to love the dishes, right? But I can just reach like acceptance that I'm doing the dishes.
Paper plates, bro. Let's go.
Right.
Yeah.
And there can be things that we give the label of bad that happens to us in our life. And you can have resistance to that happening, right? Denial. Oh my gosh, this isn't happening. I don't want it to be. And like just even that feeling, right, creates that anxiety internal. So that resistance doesn't mean acceptance. So even things that we wouldn't label as quote unquote good, or we'd say are bad, right, just that label that we give it, we can always find acceptance and allowance. And I think from there, you know, we can even get to a point in certain things where we have, you know, a state of joy in what it is we're doing. You know, I'm sure you can think of things in your work that you've done where you're like, I'm enjoying this, like time when you're fully engaged with your family, you're playing a game, you're at a dinner, or you're working on something, you know, you're present in it and time stops. And then I think there's the third level, which is where, you know, a lot of us as entrepreneurs try to get into where our creativity ultimately comes from, right? In a lot of ways. And this is where we get to a place of essentially where we have that being and that joy in us, but we also have kind of a goal attached with it as well too. So
that's like flow state,
that's
right?
that flow state.
Yeah, that's addictive.
Yeah,
Yep.
and that's where we have presence in what we're doing. We're enjoying it. We're excited about it, but we actually have an end goal there attached to it with it, right? So we can have joy in something where we don't have an end goal, right? You're hanging out with your family. You're immersed in dinner. You're not trying to get to a certain outcome, but you can be fully present in being in enjoyment of that. And then there's other things where we can tie a goal, so bringing the doing in with the being. And I think that is really where a lot of us can step into our power, because we don't create things from our mind. We create things from that place where we're like, oh my gosh, it came to me. I know exactly this is what I want to do. And I think that's where successful businesses, entrepreneurs really thrive in. And then, you know, we ultimately, all businesses are born from that place very often, but then we lose sight of it, right? From the have tos, I've got to, the hustling for our worth. In a lot of ways, we tie our worth to the things that we do. So when things don't go as we'd like them to, you know, in that control piece, we put it on ourselves, and that manifests in anxiety, and we're not here, we're not present, and it creates this ultimate dysfunction. And like I said, I operated like this quite a bit in my own business. I was very much in the masculine. I think the masculine is the doing. You know, the masculine is essentially like trying to hustle your way to things. And then feminine is a little bit more of the being. And it's not good or bad. People put labels on these, but we can't be in only one. It's bringing the two together ultimately. And I think it's how can we be more in the being, in the doing. Like when we're on this podcast, right, we are doing a lot. Like we are doing and this is going to make a lot of impact a lot of people, but we're being fully present. We're not anywhere else. We're not thinking, okay, I just need to get done with this podcast so I can get to the next things. And I think it's...
You might be. Yeah. No, 100%. Man, so much to unpack. You're a great question answerer. You're very skilled at that. That's probably something that's probably a skill that you've built, an ability that you've developed. So let me ask you something. When you've had these like epiphanies, these great ideas for a business, how to grow one, how to start one, a new idea, or maybe a bolt-on to something that you've already got established. When you have those ideas, are you watching TV? Are you surfing on your phone?
No.
Are you doing something more monastic, like washing dishes, like gardening, like cleaning, like laundry?
Sometimes, actually, the last parts I can be. I've definitely been in a workout and I've had ideas come to me, but I'd say typically when I have my ideas, it's normally between the hour of 5:30 a.m. and 6:30 a.m. and I'm sitting, reading, journaling. I'm in a very meditative state. And I get a little caffeine buzz sometimes, and that helps. And I get all of my ideas, and I've created everything that I have in my entire life. And I use that word intentionally. I have created everything from that place. And essentially, in that place, there's something that wants to take form. There's something that wants to be created, and you feel that energy. And then we get to bring that into life. But it all starts, we say, with our thoughts. And you can say, yes, it does become a thought, but I think it really comes from that place of being, which is really who you are at the core. We're not all of these other things. We say, I am... Okay, Rachel, who are you?
Yeah.
I am a functional medicine nutritionist. I am, a speaker. I'm a podcaster. No, these are achievements, but that is not actually who I am. And I could try all day to describe who I am, but that's really not ultimately who I am. It's not who I am.
Yeah, if you believe that improvement every day is possible, like even if it's 0.1%, that you could improve every day. Some people have said, motivational speakers have said, just try to improve 1% a day or a week. But if you think to yourself, you seem like a very competitive, driven person. To me, that's just my observation. I just met you 20 minutes ago. I'm very competitive, next level. But I'm also very artistic, and I'm very sentimental, and I'm very deep, super deep. I got around the not liking the dishes, not liking the meal prep, not liking the laundry by thinking through it as these are my this is a meditation for me. I outsource the yard work now, but that used to be a meditation for me as well, and an outdoor fitness, little outdoor fitness type deal. When I started to think of it that way, I put it in competitive terms for myself. I was like, I guarantee that the guys who I compete against are not doing what I'm doing right now. And when maybe I'll have a podcast going, or music, or silence, or I put birds singing up on YouTube sometimes. And I'll cook for 30 or 40 minutes, get everything ready, and I will come up with unbelievable ideas. And I'm writing them down because I don't want to crack into the phone, because I don't have the self-control to not go see if there's 10 fires to put out in one of the companies. So I've just got a pad there and I'm just writing ideas down. Are you a list maker? Do you have things that come to you like right before you have to go to sleep that you...
Yeah, I definitely write things down, and I do want to comment on, I think that's awesome that you make that a meditative practice, right? Because how are most of us operating in those things that we don't like? We are thinking the whole time, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this. I want to get through it. But if you can find presence, it's amazing. Like I look for those times in my day, because that is really where I get to tap into the parts of me that really impact other people, that I get to create from in that place. I don't create, in all the other different areas I'm in when I'm on client calls and when I'm on meetings and all these other different places. I create in that space overall. And I think we say like, oh, it has to be a meditation. Like you have to be sitting there doing that. And I love that, right? But it can actually be in those moments. Really, it can be any moment you're fully present in, whether that's the dishes, whether that is, you're picking up dog poop in the backyard. If you can just be fully present and allow that space to just open up, because that's what you'll find is there's this space that starts to open up. You start to just kind of feel yourself drop, and in that space you feel a little bit of bliss, and you're like, wow, where is this coming from? Like, what is this? And from that space, things are created from. You are actually in alignment in that moment with consciousness. And I am Christian too. When I talk about all of these things, I believe in both. But you can think of consciousness as, like we talked about trees at the beginning, right? Everything flows in a certain way. And every time we're resisting and we're like, I don't want to do things, we're not in alignment. And in those moments when we're present fully, we are in alignment with what is consciousness, which is presence and being really at the core. And that's when we get to tap in, and we are given these downloads, given these things that really want to take form and manifest from. Of like, oh my gosh, I had this idea when I was trying to make myself figure it out.
It was
wouldn't
there.
come to me.
It was there, but it wouldn't come
Yeah.
to you. You grew up north, so ski, snowboard. I asked you about that. But what about raft, canoe, kayak, etc.? You've done all that good
Yeah,
stuff.
definitely.
So I love that you, because I'm way into consciousness, bliss. Rogan had the soil guy on. What's his name? Sohail. We've talked about this guy, Siddharthu. What's his name? The soil guy. He's Indian guru.
I get scared every time I hear
Sadhguru.
that.
Yeah, Sadhguru. So when he was on with Rogan, and Rogan's
Some people call me the sad guru. Sorry.
no, you're my lucky charm, brother. What are you talking about? He was talking about bliss. When you do talk to the dyed-in-the-wool Christians, right? The scriptures are the way, the only way, the one true way. There's one way. All of these, because that's what I grew up in. Hardcore. There's one way to the Father. You know, we're taking it all, like, and that's great. There's a lot of things from my childhood that were great, and some things that I learned from, right? The being in the river, or thinking of life as a river, which rivers are my favorite bodies of water. Lakes are cool. The ocean is rad. I grew up on the ocean, but rivers are always changing, and they're always carrying life. If you try to go stand in the middle of a rushing river when all the snow is melting, you're fighting that current. But if you just flow with it, whether you're just floating on an inner tube or you're on a whitewater raft, you just flow with it and just go with it, you get a lot further, don't you? And it's way more fun. Have you ever read the book Siddhartha? It's a really fast read. It's very interesting. And it's just that life isn't the same from day to day. It is always changing. So if you're in the river of life and you just go with it, which does mean sometimes doors are getting shut in your face. Sometimes phones are being hung up on you if you're cold calling people. But you just go, okay, not the right opportunity. On to the next, on to the next, on to the next. Things become so much freer. And you do feel that bliss. Because it's not this, I'm going to throw my hands up. It is what it is. Life's going to take me where it takes me. And I'm just going to play Fortnite all day. It's I'm putting my best foot forward, and I'm working hard, and I'm doing the tangible things. Everything that I can control, I'm in complete control of. So what I eat, what I drink, what I hear, what I say, all of those things that I can control, I have complete control of. Not very many people have that, by the way. And then you can just almost just be at peace with, I'm doing everything on my end that I can do. Yes, there's room for improvement always, but where we go is part of the process, and I'm along for the ride. And for me, as a hard driving competitive person, that was hard to bend my mind around for a while. But now that I've had some experiences with plant medicine, it's like a revelation. It's hard to explain. It's like everything has color to it now, where before it was a little more black or white or beige everywhere. For me now, a bad experience is like a game. Like, I'm not going to make this flight. I'm going to be late because of traffic, things I couldn't control. Now I'm going to work on my skill of being able to roll with the punches. And I feel like the people who I admire the most are the ones who are able to do that better than anyone. Nothing and people think that it just came naturally to them, right? Oh, nothing phases that guy. Nothing phases that gal. No, they had to work on that. And they get their mind right every morning. And whatever life throws at them, they see it as it's happening for me, not to me. No matter what, no matter how I feel, and we're just gonna go with the flow. And it's interesting to hear you talk about meditation, because sometimes when I do talk to very faith-based people, meditation has this weird ring to it where I think some Christians feel like it's wrong. I've seen some Christians post about yoga that it's wrong, or that it can allow weird spirits in and all of this. And that's odd to me, because I also see how much it helps people who don't have a faith base, but who know they're searching for something. And so to hear that from you, how long have you been on like this bliss, universe, meditation type journey? And has that kind of gone hand in hand with your growth from what you were talking about, working in the masculine, the do, the achieve, and now trying to be more present to where you can be in these creative flow states more often?
Yeah. Thank you for asking that. And I do want to comment on what you were talking about with, I think the word would be non-attachment, right? To everything that's happening. Like, you're not attached to it having to be a certain way, but you're really in flow, like you said, on the river there, and you're still creating, you're still giving, you're still having to manifest and put in the work, because it just doesn't come to you, but you're not attached to it having to look any certain way. So I just wanted to say that was a really great point there to
Read
kind
that
of
book.
hit back in on.
It's fast.
Yeah.
Throw it on Audible.
I love books.
Audible is reading, right? Let's
One
get
of my
that out of
favorite
the way.
books.
I just actually read Eckhart Tolle's books.
Just that was
A
it.
New Earth, and that one really, really impacted my life. But to answer
I was
your,
going to ask you if you read him, because you sound like you do. So that's great. I
he's
love
been
him.
most recently in my mind, and he really impacted me on my healing journey. And, for me, I was raised Christian. I was raised the standard, we go to church on Sundays, you believe in God, you believe in Jesus, which means you're going to be saved. But it's like very surface level. Like, what does that mean? You can still operate, do whatever you want to do, because again, just ask for forgiveness and you're saved, like most Christians. And it's, as I got into a lot of my own health struggles, which actually goes hand in hand with healing and gut health and all of it, I really got on my own, excuse me, water. I really got on my own healing journey because I kept falling in very similar circumstances in my life that looked differently, but were really the same circumstance over and over again. And what I mean by that is really placing my worth in so many things that were outside of me. In high school, when I was growing up, I was obsessed with having perfect skin, and because I was a teenager and I had acne, and I had terrible acne, and I was put on Accutane, but I was obsessed. And I wanted nothing more than to fit in when I was younger, which most of us do, right? Like,
Yep.
we're in this very egoic stage where we just want nothing more than to fit in. I was very insecure, unconfident. I was actually almost mute. I say almost because not fully mute for a portion of my
Really?
childhood. Boys would ask me out, and I'd go out on dates with them, and I wouldn't talk to them. I'd be like one-word answers. That's why I say like almost mute, because I actually
Sure.
would say some words back. And
Was
then
that like a social anxiety type thing, you think?
it definitely was. I didn't know how to use my voice as a young girl. And I've uncovered where that came from through a lot of my own healing work. But really, I had a lot of insecurity. I didn't have a lot of parent figures growing up. My mom was physically absent, partying, drinking, drugs, most of my upbringing. Well, my dad was emotionally absent as a byproduct of my mom being gone, partying, drinking, drugs, sleeping with various men while we all still lived in the same home. So it was a very dysfunctional upbringing. And for whatever reason, I learned as a young girl that it wasn't safe to speak. It wasn't safe to use my voice. And now I created that meaning, right? That's what kids do. We create these meanings based off of what happens to us. It doesn't mean that's the truth, but that's the meaning that I made as a young girl, not consciously. I've uncovered this.
Might not be the truth or the truth according to others, but
No.
it was your truth.
It was
that,
the truth I created. And
because
no,
kids
it's
are
not the
intuitive.
truth.
Your intuition paired with your ego was trying to keep you alive. So you're trying to survive in this dysfunctional surrounding.
Correct.
And you arrive at this decision that my voice is not going to be a big part of my survival here. So maybe it's seen but not heard is my best way forward.
Yeah.
So
Really, it came from a hidden belief of I don't matter, really at the core.
You have brothers and sisters? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have an older sister, a younger brother. And this was something that was subconscious, meaning I did not know that belief system was there until honestly later in my 20s. But I kept finding myself getting into these places of perfectionism and hyperachievement. And when I was in college and I got into bodybuilding, right, it started off as a healthy venture. And for me, this was the first time in my life I felt confident, right? Growing up very insecure, unconfident, could barely talk to boys, wouldn't talk to them, and they'd break up with me, which would reiterate my story of, there's something wrong with me, right? And I got into bodybuilding, and I mean, I was really good at it. All of a sudden, like, everybody's looking, they're like, who's this girl? I had 6-pack abs, I was shredded, and it was a way for me to also really process a lot of my own pain through fitness in a lot of ways. It was my therapy. So not only did I love fitness because of the therapy side of everything, I fell in love with what it was doing for my body, and I felt like I had a sense of worth for the first time in my entire life.
Did you understand or put two and two together back then that part of what you really liked about the fitness, you said the therapy part, but that you were probably finding yourself in these meditative states while you're working out. Maybe when you're younger, I don't think some of us really realize why I gravitated towards sports, because on that field, nothing mattered except for what was happening like this fraction of this second right now. There's no thinking about the after party or where we're going to dinner after. It's right now, fully engaged, no time for anything else. And I didn't realize that when I was in my 20s, right? Yeah. But I just knew that I liked it and that it was doing good things for my body and for my confidence as well. So I kept pursuing it. Is that kind of what was going on there?
Yeah, there was a combination, right? So I loved that it was my therapy. It was my meditation. And it was a way for me to take all of, the anger and things that I felt inside and to really release it in a lot of ways and to push myself, to push my body physically. And I fell in love with how I would feel after. I felt in love, like you said, the meditation that I got during it. And then I fell in love with the results that I was getting with my body, and it gave me a sense of worth. Right. So I started to compete in bodybuilding. I competed for 3 years. I was at 10% body fat. Started posting on social media. Instagram was new at the time. And, I was posting recipes, before and after photos. I would say hashtag booty pics at the time. And I grew my social media to over 100,000 followers. I was the cover of Men's Health, bodybuilding.com, Train magazine. And my whole goal now was to go pro, to compete in bodybuilding. And from the outside looking in, everyone would say Rachel was the epitome of health. Right? 10% body fat, perfect booty, shredded 6-pack abs, I was beautiful.
Who decides the booty perfection, though?
The judges on stage.
Okay.
The judges. Okay. We get scored on that. Okay. So, again, very unhealthy, right? Because...
I don't know. Yeah, that's probably better than judges at, like, a frat party.
Yeah, no...
Like real judges with, like, clipboards.
Real judges, right? Who are
booty.
Essentially...
Perfect.
Judging your physique and giving you a score. It is the most messed up sport ever if you really think about it. You're going to get up on stage
very fucked up,
practically naked, and I'm going to critique every little piece of your body,
right,
and give you a score on it. It is the most messed up. And even, a lot of bodybuilders come out. I think Phil Heath just came out this last month that he suffers with body dysmorphia disorder.
Yeah,
and I'm like, well, I'm not surprised. Like, right. I'm not surprised. Like, every bodybuilder pretty much does. I won't say everybody because I can never make that claim, but I'd say the majority of them do suffer with body dysmorphia disorder because there is their worth put in their body. And that's exactly where I was in my life. I was getting my worth from everything outside of me, and especially my body at that point in my life. So
probably hard not to do that when you're young, though, and you're starting to knock it out of the park.
For sure.
I mean, a magazine cover is a big deal, especially in that industry. I mean, that's what that industry is about. right? The best of the best are on the magazine covers. Getting a magazine cover is what a lot of people in that fitness industry put in their social media bios,
For sure.
right? Like 19 magazine covers or whatever. So, and being driven by achievement's not a bad thing, but
It's a bad thing when your worth is in that achievement.
sure.
But wanting, there's two different things. I'd say desiring achievement and putting yourself in alignment to do what you can do to get achievement is one thing, but placing your worth in that achievement will always lead to burnout and exhaustion and not enough, and it can be taken away from you. Because if you can achieve it, then it can be taken away. And I don't say this, obviously, I'm somebody who is very ambitious. I'm somebody who goes after my goals, who's created a multi-million-dollar business. I'm somebody who has a ton of things that I'm going to do in my life. However, I can speak about this because that has been my downfall along this entire journey. And when I really got into competing in bodybuilding at this level, that's what led to all of my health issues. So I was 10% body fat, I was epitome of health. But my worth was so tied up mentally and physically and everything that I was doing to my body that I started to get really sick.
Did the health problems, so the health problems resulted from, do you think, driving too hard?
It was a combination of a lot of things. So in functional medicine, there's really three main stressors that I talk about that can cause dis-ease in the body. And I say it that way purposely, dis-ease in the body. Emotional stressors, dietary stressors, and environmental stressors. And then maybe some, I guess 4 could be physical stressors. Most of the time when there's dis-ease in the body, it is a combination of a few of those, and it creates the perfect storm. So there's emotional stress. Somebody has hidden, unaddressed trauma that they haven't dealt with in their life. For me, putting my worth and everything outside of myself, which was creating the striving and the driving and an unhappiness overall. And then in combination, sometimes it can be an emotional stress if someone's going through a big bad breakup, a divorce, or a death. Dietary stress, if you're eating a diet that's very inflammatory, full of industrial seed oils, vegetable oils, the standard American diet, the SAD diet, that wreaks havoc on our gut, our body, our brain, our inflammation.
Did you invent that? SAD?
I don't
Standard
think I
American
did.
diet?
The SAD diet.
That's the first time I've ever heard that. That's fucking awesome. I think you should trademark that and just see what happens. Just run it past your attorney.
I can't recall who I heard it from before, but it is the SAD diet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and SAD diet, that's going to cause a ton of issues as a stress on the body, the gut and the brain, our hormones and everything. And then environmental stressors, right? We live in a toxic world. I run testing on people all the time. Heavy metals, mold, plastics, BPAs, all of these are neuroendocrine disruptors, gut disruptors. And then there's physical stress, which for me, I was overtraining, right? And not getting in enough nutrition. So I could tell you my situation where I had unaddressed trauma. I was placing my worth in something outside of myself, but that led to overtraining, not eating enough. That was another kind of physical stress on top of my diet, which was macro-friendly, but there was a lot of foods that were wreaking havoc on my gut because there was a lot of diet foods. And what I mean by that is artificial sweeteners, gums, pre-workouts, post-workouts, all of these fillers and artificial sweeteners that actually have been shown to cause bacteria overgrowth in the gut. And on top of that, when our body's stressed, physically, emotionally, and cortisol is chronically elevated, it causes our gut to completely shut down. And when our gut shuts down, we stop producing digestive enzymes that we need in order to break down all of our food. Cortisol is very catabolic. So in the bodybuilding world, we avoid cortisol like the hawk. We're always like, get in all of your protein, eat your meals frequently, have recovery, because cortisol is catabolic. It breaks down muscle tissue. Now, we don't very much think about that. Our gut lining, which is only one cell layer thick is also in muscle tissue. So what we start to see happen is a combination of emotional stress, physical stress, the gut lining begins to break down. This sets the train for bacteria overgrowth, especially with what the diet may look like. The standard American diet, the SAD diet, artificial sweeteners, for me was more so the diet type foods, feeding different bacteria. I got intestinal permeability, leaky gut. And over time, overall, my gut became really, really off and balanced. And this set the tone for further emotional issues because our gut and the brain are interconnected. So really suffering with brain fog, anxiety, depression. I started to develop hormonal imbalances because our gut and our hormones are really, really connected there. Massive gut issues, chronically bloated every single day because of the bacteria overgrowth, because of the intestinal permeability. And I grew really, really depressed. And
How fast did this happen?
This was
How long did it take?
It's slow, right? So I competed for 2-3 years. It's kind of hard to remember, around that amount of time, in bodybuilding back to back, 10% body fat, training really hard, eating quote unquote diet foods with a lot of this emotional and physical stress. And it's this perfect storm for a lot of these things to take place. And it's the same with anybody else, right? So if you're somebody who has hormonal imbalances, you're somebody who's overweight, you're somebody who has thyroid issues and autoimmune condition, I could peel back the onion to what are your dietary stressors? What are your emotional stressors? Are there an environmental stressor? And then is there a physical stress? And most people have a combination of a few of these that have led to the breakdown of the gut lining, bacteria imbalances that have led to nutrient deficiencies, chronic inflammation throughout the body, which has then dominoed to impacting these other systems in their body between their hormones, their thyroid, their metabolic system, and all of these other areas. So also, if we really get back to the core, though, where I come back really full circle to a lot of this is the core, though, is that healing piece, right? So when people come to me in functional medicine, right, I went through all of this healing, right, of my gut. The first thing I realized after I got really sick and my hair was falling out, my skin was wreck, and I felt betrayed by my body because fitness now was my life. I was like, I'm going to go to the doctor, right? Something's off. There's something that...
You say betrayed by your body.
I felt that.
Yeah. Did you feel like, what are you doing, body? I mean, I'm doing everything you're supposed to do to have a kick-ass body.
That. Delusionally, I thought that, but we don't know what we don't know, right?
Oh,
in the time where
one of my favorite sayings. And the older you get, it's probably going to be one of yours too, because I think we think similarly. That's what I've taken from these last 52 minutes, though. Like, you say things, and I'm like, damn, wow. I mean, I've had those thoughts too, and I've got some years on you. But we don't know what we don't know. Like, there's you have no idea. Sometimes things come out of the blue. We say they just come out of the blue in life. It surprised me. I had no idea that was even something that could happen. Well, that's just because you haven't experienced it before. Experience is knowledge. Everything else is just information. And we have these supercomputers in our hands all day, every day. We could get all the info we want, but until you've lived it, you have no idea. So what's the first tip-off that you are starting to develop this gut disorder? Was it the brain fog, the depression, the anxiety
bloating
stuff? The bloating first?
Yeah, and you can have gut imbalances without having gut issues, and this is something I talk about quite a bit. So most of the time when we think of I have a gut issue or a gut microbiome imbalance, you think I have constipation, I have diarrhea, I have bloating, and that's it. That is, of course, an indicator of poor gut health or your gut being off. For me, I was chronically bloated. I looked 6 months pregnant at the end of every single day. And because I had 6-pack abs, I kind of looked like a Ninja Turtle, is something I always say. And that's why I felt betrayed by my body. I'd worked so hard on my body physically with my nutrition. I'm a fitness model, and I would look so distended at the end of every single day. And this is a lot of people too. A lot of people struggle with this, but it's something that's so uncomfortable to talk about, right? And because most people live a very unhealthy life between the medications they take, between the toxic food and products they use, between their emotional health, and between their diet. So we have an epidemic of poor gut health and dysbiosis, or low diversity in the gut, which essentially means you have an overgrowth of bad bacteria and you don't have enough probiotics and you have not enough of bacteria variety in your gut, which has been shown to have a connection with poor health outcomes, metabolic disorders, thyroid issues, autoimmune conditions, even things like Alzheimer's, neurodegenerative disorders, depression, anxiety, all of these things can be connected back to the gut. But we could say the gut is the root cause, but is the gut the root cause? I like to even go deeper. Why is the gut off in the first place? And that's where we can really bring it back to typically one of these stressors. And then what is leading us to have these stressors in our life? And I think that's where we really get to do a lot of the healing work. Why do we choose to eat the shitty food every single day? Why do we? One or two reasons. One, either we don't have the education, which I can talk plenty about our food system and the education there. Or two, we don't respect our body enough. So we are choosing to disrespect our body because we are choosing to just have pleasure here in the moment, even though we know that it is wreaking havoc on our body, on our gut, on our hormones, on our brain, that when we look in the mirror, we look back at somebody who we are like, man, I'm not proud of that person. Like, I'm not proud of that person. I don't like that person. Even though we feel that way, we'll still eat the shitty food. So it's one of the two reasons. We have a lack of education, and our food system definitely is to blame because we have a food system that pays no attention to health, and we have a health system that pays no attention to food.
Yeah, so when you, well, I get a lot of experience with this as well. So you go to a doctor and you say to the doctor, man, I'm not feeling like myself, or man, I'm getting these headaches. I just don't understand what's going on. And if it's a conventional Western practicing doctor, I have never had a conventional Western physician say to me, I want to know what you ate and drank for the last 24 hours. I'm not even talking about like, give me a 1 week, keep track of it. Let's come back in 1 week. Tell me. That's not even, I know because I know some doctors, that's not even in their stream of consciousness.
They're not trained in it.
That's right. It's not in a textbook. They're not trained in it.
And it's also not a lot of their fault too. And this is something I love to educate people on. You are going to a physician who practices medicine. You're going to a physician who practices medicine. So the physician is going to give you medicine. And this is what the system has also trained them to do. And there's also this fear, right? We are sheep at the core. No one wants to step out and do things differently. And when one person starts doing something differently, everybody else, right, jumps on that person.
Yes.
And they get criticized and all of this.
Especially when it comes to health.
For sure.
As we've seen in the last several years, going at people from a health angle is the easiest, fastest, most effective way to scare them into doing what you want them to do. And if you do step out of line, everyone's on your case. People in your family, people in your social community, whether it's just we're going to the bar, but I'm not going to have a drink. If a woman says that at a bar, it's, are you pregnant? If a guy says that at a bar, it's, what's your deal, man? You got a problem? Not, that's awesome. You training for something? Or, no, I can't sleep when I drink, so it doesn't serve me, right? It's this really weird, yes, you step out of the norm, the way everybody's doing things, and you do get jumped on right away.
Yeah.
If you're at the holidays and you don't want to eat what's there, it's what's your deal? You're too good for our food. Well, no, I just don't eat dairy, man. It's horrible for you. So I just decided not to do that. Whatever it is, you're right. I just think that it's really sad that you have to tell people, hey, when you go to a doc, because you put a lab coat on in this country and you're at a different status.
Mm-hmm. But people also put physicians in that status too, right?
Well, our culture does.
They think that the physician should play God, number one. And they're also going to a physician for a lifestyle-related issue, right?
Yes, and they're also going because they want that lifestyle-related issue to be solved with an easy button. Mm-hmm. And the squat rack has a much different easy button symbol to it to most people than a pill bottle does.
Yeah.
So if I can tell you, Rachel, I can solve all of those problems with this pill right here, and you weren't Rachel Scheer, you might have said okay, and maybe you did try going, and we're about to learn about that. But if I go and I tell my doctor, man, I'm just not feeling myself. I don't know if my levels are off or what's going on. It's definitely going to be, well, maybe we'll throw you on an antidepressant, which you put somebody on an SSRI who doesn't need one, which I can test most people don't. What it does to their body and mind over the course of the however many years they're on it is horrible. It's terrible. I've seen it firsthand. I've taken them. And instead of, well, why don't we try to get you out walking once a day? Why don't we try to have you drink a gallon of water a day? Why don't we try a couple of these other things and then revisit this? It's next man up. And yes, you're right. We live in a free country. It's a free country. If you go to the doctor and the only thing they're telling you back is take this pill, go find a different doctor. Go find a DO. Go find someone functional. Go find someone who's actually found a way through the problem, which is what you've done, which is why I think you have the following you do, because a lot of people are like, whoa. I mean, because to look at your before and after photos is pretty incredible. So when you go talk to the doctor right away, you start noticing problems. You said it was the skin and the hair falling out. No, the bloating first.
It was a combination of, my skin issues, hair falling out, chronic fatigue and the chronic bloating that I was having. I wasn't able to go to the restroom, so I became constipated too. And I went to the doctor, which most of us would do, and they did the scans. We did colonoscopy, endoscopy, CT, MRI, and everything came back normal, which I think sometimes it's good to rule out anything major and serious. And where Western medicine is good is if there's something major going on, like if you come back with cancer, if you break your leg, like you go to the physician, and medicine is very useful. It can save your life in a lot of ways. So once that's ruled out, though, the physician has done their job. And actually what I would love to see is physicians start referring people more so out to, functional nutritionists and to other people, mental health specialists, where they do practice medicine, but they use it, and people are more educated on when to go see the physician and when to go see someone else. And I do think people go see physicians just like I was. I was in that boat. So I went to the physician, they rolled everything out, and they gave me a bunch of labels, right? So I was given a label of IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, which is a trash can diagnosis, because it's like, yeah, I know my gut is irritable. It's like the stupidest diagnosis ever. It's like, I figured it out. You have IBS. You're like, oh goodness, thank you. Thank you for telling me I have an irritable gut. I know that. And they give you laxatives, or they're like, you're constipated. Oh, really?
Yeah.
You didn't know that. And they give you the medication. And I was put on thyroid medication because they did find out that my thyroid had plummeted. So I had hypothyroidism, which actually makes sense because of my energy intake and energy expenditure. And a thyroid down regulates, when you're at a very low percent body fat. But I was put on thyroid medication. I didn't have a menstrual cycle, so I was on birth control. I was put on an antidepressant, and I just continued to get worse and worse.
How many pills are you taking a day when you're at the height of all this?
I don't know, like 4 or 5, I think.
How depressed were you that all of this was happening, that you didn't know what was going on?
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of people have been there. They're like, I feel like I'm seeking answers. I'm going to the doctor. I'm trying to figure it out. And again, it was just a lack of education with where I was at, one in my healing journey, and what I knew about our health system and who to go to for what, and what was my role in this. And I expected a doctor to fix a lot of these issues. And I continued to get worse and worse, where I couldn't go to the restroom at all anymore now, even on all these meds, without doing an enema every single day to go to the restroom to just empty my bowels. And I could talk about that with no shame now.
Wow,
and
that's horrible.
Horrible. I mean, terrible, like miserable,
fuck?
Right? And then they sent me to a colorectal surgeon at this point because, right, like I'm not even going to the bathroom without literally doing an enema every single day. So they then gave me the solution to cut out my entire large intestine. And the surgeon actually said, you probably have had this for most of your life. It's called a floppy colon, where your colon kind of distends and moves around, because I saw that visually in some of the scans, but I think it actually had to do with how lean I was actually at that point in my life. I didn't have any like fat to like hold it up. And they're like, we'll just cut out the large intestine and we'll sew the end of the small intestine to the rectum, and this will fix a lot of your constipation issues. And
What would the side effects be if you had that done?
one, malnutrition, because you absorb a lot of vitamins, minerals, hydration through your large intestine, right? There is a big possibility I'd be walking around with a bag attached to my stomach, in which I would literally be going to the bathroom from a hole in my stomach into what's called an ostomy bag. Well, that heals, like dumping, which means like because there's less of transit for everything to go through, just everything just comes out pretty fast, and there's nothing to hold the stool in. I talk about poop a lot in my job, doing gut health.
Well, I mean, it's like you said.
And they're like, this fitness girl who's like, does fitness modeling, talking about poop. And honestly, it's like, I could probably talk about it anywhere now just because of how much I talk about it. And it's like, it's funny though.
Yeah, I'm sure that at the beginning it was probably a little bit uncomfortable.
Especially for men when I have the conversations.
Well, I don't think people understand how important gut health is until something drives them to that understanding.
Yeah.
You talk to a lot of people say depression and anxiety and stress are just off the charts. Like alcohol and drug abuse, the numbers on those overdose deaths and new users and people who were recovered who have now fallen back into that lifestyle because of everything that's been going on. Those numbers have just skyrocketed recently. And a lot of people don't put two and two together that if you square your gut up, it does wonders for your brain health. Your levels too, that up until a few years ago, getting your levels checked was not this common. It's not this common thing it is now. Like you can say that to people now and they know what you mean. If you said that to people even 5 years ago, they'd be like, what are you talking about?
Gut microbiome testing.
Gut microbiome testing, food insensitivity testing, metabolic testing, like figuring out which of the macros you burn better, the fat or the carb, or all of those types of things. Like the tech is there now. It's made big time advances, but you're taking 4 or 5 pills a day. It's not fixing anything, and now we're gonna carve your body up. How big would that scar have been?
Not terrible, but it definitely wasn't something that I wanted to do. And it was at that moment, like that rock bottom for me, where I became obsessed with learning everything I could about gut health. And I started to learn that all of my issues were really stemming from these microbiome imbalances.
Where did that fire get its ignition? Are you just reading on Reddit somewhere or
about the microbiome?
Yes.
Well, I had all the gut issues, right? So my biggest issue, because they're talking about removing my large intestine, was all gut related. I just want to be able to go to the restroom.
So you just start searching online?
If you start first researching a little bit about gut health and like how to heal the gut, you're going to come up upon a lot of things about the microbiome. And I was a registered dietitian. I went to Baylor for nutrition science and dietetics, so I have that background already. And I started diving into a lot of different functional medicine research practices, learning a lot about the gut microbiome. And I learned about different gut healing protocols that Western medicine really wasn't talking about, right? They're like, here's some benefiber, here's a laxative. Okay, let's do a colonoscopy, endoscopy. Okay, let's cut out your large intestine. And no one was talking about the microbiome. Nobody was looking at the bacteria in my gut. No one looked for bacteria overgrowth, if there was intestinal permeability, what was really happening there. Like you said, no one really was asking me questions about my lifestyle. How was this girl training? What was her diet like? All of these things. I was just looked at, is there anything disease going on? Okay, how can we fix the symptom? And I was given a label. And I think that's what's so disempowering very often about our system. Again, like I said earlier, we need Western medicine. There are certain scenarios where we desperately need it, like we can't get rid of it. However, when it comes to a lot of these disorders, when it comes to IBS, when it comes to some autoimmune conditions, anxiety, depression, which are lifestyle-based issues, we give someone a label and based off of symptom clusters, right? So IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, is based off of symptom clusters and not based off of a true root cause type diagnosis. And then we start managing the symptoms with medication overall. And that's where I started to figure out what is really going on in my body. And I did various microbiome testing on myself. I started working with my own functional practitioner. I found out I had a ton of bacteria overgrowth. I had SIBO, which is small intestinal bacteria overgrowth, where the bacteria had overgrown in my gut because of my diet, the artificial sweeteners, because of the motility had come to a halt because I was so stressed all the time because of my cortisol levels and my gut shut down. So the transit had lowered and how low my body fat percentage was, that my thyroid slowed down. That plays a big role on motility. So it's you start to get all these connections there and you're like, oh, this makes sense. But what was happening is the bacteria were fermenting on all the foods that I eat. I always give the analogy, if you've seen how bread is made, we have yeast and we give that yeast sugar, and what happens to the bread?
Right.
It rises and it like a ton. And that exact process happens in our gut. When you have a dysbiotic or an imbalanced microbiome, or you have bacteria overgrowth, the bacteria and the yeast in your gut are fermenting on all the different carbohydrates in foods you eat, especially fiber, which we say fiber is great, fiber's not bad, but it's problematic when you have bacteria overgrowth because it's a prebiotic. It's feeding the bacteria in the gut. The bacteria are fermenting, producing this gas and leading to the bloating. And depending on the gas that's produced, hydrogen or methane from the bacteria, this can actually lead to, for some people, diarrhea. For some people, if it's more methane producing, constipation. And we also see the gut inflammation, the leaky gut, and even the leaky gut is the root cause of actually food sensitivities. So food sensitivities aren't a true root cause. When your gut lining's broken down and you get bacteria, foods, and toxins leaking into your bloodstream, you trigger an immune response, and that creates a food sensitivity. Food sensitivities aren't things you were born with. A food allergy is very different. So it creates food sensitivities, it creates systemic inflammation, and over time, the systemic inflammation and immune response can eventually lead to an autoimmune condition. So what is an autoimmune condition? Crohn, ulcerative colitis, Hashimoto's, psoriasis. At the core, it is a gut issue. And it can even be an environmental issue with toxins because that leads to a lot of the immune dysregulation.
What was causing your cortisol spikes? You were just stressed about the whole situation?
No, I was overtraining.
Okay.
I was at 10% body fat and blood sugar imbalances. So when you're really lean and your blood sugar is dropping quite a bit, your lower blood sugar, it's a glucocorticoid. So every time blood sugar drops, cortisol picks up. And you combine that with a lot of training and emotional stress, cortisol is chronically elevated, and that can lead to the breakdown
You're
of the
stressing
body.
your body out because you're overtraining, and your body is responding by releasing a chemical that's necessary for survival.
To protect it, yeah.
Yeah. The overtraining thing was this. Is this? You've mentioned it a couple times. Do you have like an obsessive compulsive type addictive personality or nature, or was it more just you started to find something that was helping you, like you explained maybe 20 minutes ago, in so many different ways, the bodybuilding, that you just gravitated toward it and went all in on it, and then it ended up backfiring on you?
I think giving a disorder to anything isn't really helpful, but I think if saying,
because that's that label thing again.
But I'd say, did I become obsessed with fitness and obsessed with winning and obsessed with getting to a very low % body fat? Yes. And that's what I'm talking about in this, of we put so much of that in our worth, where we are hustling and striving. It could be anything. It could be to get the perfect body, to win, to build a business, whatever it may be. And we are hustling and we are pushing our body to this extreme point. And anytime also we put our worth in something outside of us and we're hustling for our worthiness, really at the core in a lot of ways, it crumbles.
Can you walk me through this label thing, right? You've talked about that a few times. So I like that, right? Everybody is different and every body is different, right? We're all unique. I believe that. I believe that we were created. I don't believe this all just happened, that so one day this big boom happened and then all of a sudden a couple thousand years later, here we are in this studio right now. Like, I believe there's a plan. Is the labeling thing just this? It's a let's put a number on it. Let's put a label on it. So we can close the case and move on. Like, we've solved it and moved on. Seems like the labels thing pisses you off, which I agree with. I don't think you can just say everybody should be a vegan. That'll fix everything. Or everybody should be carnivore. Like, all of us, what we eat, how we live our lives, they should all be a little bit different if we're all really dialed in. Is the labels thing just because it's so impersonal and it's almost like, oh, we figured it out? Or is it more that kind of pisses you off because they were like, okay, you have IBS, see you next week, take this and you'll be good to go. And after you've been labeled so many things so many times and it hasn't worked, you're like, this labeling bullshit is garbage.
I think 2 reasons. When you give something a label, you put it in a box. You say it's a way for us to try to understand something. We say, this is what it is. We don't really fully know the complexity of somebody or something enough to give them a label and say, this is who and this is what this is at the core. So anytime we give someone a label, or especially the labels that have disorder at the end, obsessive compulsive disorder, anxiety disorder, major depressive disorder, what does that person do? One, they take on that label and they say, this is who I am. There's something wrong with me. I'm broken. And they stop actually trying to get to the true root cause because they believe that the label is who they are. That is the issue.
So it's
very disempowering.
Okay. You see a lot of give up. I get this label and it's okay. This is just what I'm going to have to deal with.
And I think we label what we don't understand.
Well, that's for damn sure.
We label what we don't understand.
Yeah, that's the easy way. Right now,
this person just is this. They just have this. We label what we don't understand.
My favorite one these days is problematic. If anything, is
we do it all the time. You're problematic. You're this. Yeah. Or what do we do with kids all the time? You have ADD.
Yeah.
Have ADD, ADHD.
Right. You're toxic. You have toxic masculinity.
I can't remember her name, and I wish I did, but she's one of the world's best choreographers for ballet. And when she was younger, everyone in school tried to label her as having ADD. And her mom took her to the doctor, and she couldn't sit still. She was always, moving around her body all the time. And her mom's trying to bring her in, and the teachers told her there's something wrong with her, right? Again, she has ADD, go get her tested, brought her into the doctor. And what was so cool about this, is he looking up? Dame Gillian Lynn? Yeah, Dame Gillian Lynn.
She was named
Maybe,
Dame.
I don't know.
That's awesome that you can look that up. Yeah, so Dame Gillian Lynn, her mom brought her to a physician because of her inability to concentrate, do really well in school. And this was a really cool physician, actually. The physician asked the mom to leave the room for a minute. She's like, I want to talk with your daughter. I just want to sit here. I want to have a one-on-one so I can really, assess her properly. The mom leaves the room. And what this physician does is he turns on the music. He turns on the music, and she gets up, and she starts moving, and she starts dancing. And then, he eventually calls the mom back in the room, and he says, lady, there's nothing wrong with your daughter. She's a dancer. And that woman ended up going on to become one of the world's best choreographers for the ballet and dancers, where we wanted to label her and say there was something wrong with her.
You know who Richard Branson is? Virgin America, Virgin Atlantic. His entire family. So his mom, I don't know about his dad, but all of his brothers and sisters, all dyslexic. And when he first gets started, they put him in this boarding school. He fucking hates it. He wants out. He ends up saying, it's either you let me out or I'm just leaving. He leaves and he goes and starts a magazine, and he's publishing a magazine as a dyslexic. And that label to him from his mom said that just means you read things differently than other people. It's not doesn't mean you're bad. It means you're going to do more than other people too. I think the labeling thing is just like you said, it's this it seems like in our culture do like to file things or slot things a certain way so that we can compare them to other Like,
This is how it should be. This is the right
because
way. This
I
is
knew
the wrong way.
Sure, I knew someone, they were like that, you're the same.
Yeah.
And it does take people's power
Even the
away.
word disorder, like the word disorder, it's like you are disordered. It just breathes there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, you're different than
You're
everyone
broken.
else.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, not a fan of labels.
Well, yeah, the broken thing, like, man, who's that awesome songwriter, Sohail, who I always talk about, Leonard Cohen? There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. Like, broken is also a very, what do you mean? You tell someone they're broken, that's okay. Like, life's a...
Or they're different. They're just not like...
Yeah, life's a tough one, man. If you haven't been pushed over or fallen over or dropped and some part of you hasn't cracked or been broken, you probably haven't been living life hard enough. You know, when you're on this path to try to figure out how to get yourself squared away, what was your support system like? You probably didn't have that great support system at home. Are you gravitating toward friends? This first doctor
For me, this was
you?
really a figure it out yourself. You know, I had to really be my own advocate at this point in my life. Family, okay, we'll go with you to the doctor, but it really was up to me. And that's really the message for everybody who really, really wants to heal. And I think a lot of people say they're ready to heal, but when I say heal, I mean really taking ownership for your healing. And that means, not expecting your physician, your coach, whoever to play God, but expecting them to be a guide on your journey, that you're going to actually have to make true lifestyle changes, that it's not going to be a quick fix. It's not going to be a pill, that it's going to be, I have to change my diet. I have to change my thinking. For most people, for lifestyle issues, the root cause, it is really some other deeper healing work that needs to take place. So that needs to happen in conjunction. And I think people need to have these different advocates and coaches in their life, physicians, functional medicine practitioners, mental health coaches, whatever they may need to create that support system. So if they don't have it, and most people won't, to really guide them in the way they truly need to be guided. Now there's the support meaning like, I'll cheer you on, I'm there for you type support. But when I talk about the support that I think most of us need, we need that person who's like, I've been there and I'm going to guide you. Now I'm not going to fix you because that's your job. I'm going to be your guide on this journey and I'm going to point you in the right direction. And that's what I get to do with people now with functional medicine and gut healing and all of that. And also too, just like life coaching in general, is I really get to point them in the right direction. I get to do the proper testing. I get to help diagnose and figure out what the root causes are. But they're the ones who have to change their diet. They're the ones who have to change their lifestyle. They're the ones who have to actually implement a lot of these things. Otherwise, it's just cool information at the end of the day.
So if you would have gotten with the first functional medicine practitioner who starts to help you with this, fixing this gut microbiome issue, but that's all you did. You just got that squared away, got the bloating squared away, the digestion squared away, but you didn't.
I would not be where I'm at
work
today.
On the trauma and the stress, and you don't believe that you'd be where you're at.
I
today.
would not be where I'm at here today at all.
Where would you be? Did you ever think about that?
I guess I could think about that, but I think I would be repeating old patterns, right?
Oh, like you mentioned before.
I'd be repeating old patterns. So maybe I would have calmed down my training. Maybe I would have, taken a step back. I would have changed my diet, and I would have changed some of my lifestyle. But because I really didn't address the core wounds, which was how I was showing up in a repetitive pattern in my life, putting my worth in these things, leading to that hustle type mentality, then I would find myself maybe not identical, but similar circumstances over and over and over again in my life. And because until we really learn the lessons, we get the same lessons given to us over and over again.
You get to repeat the test until you pass the test in life.
Yeah.
And that's a painful thing. When you find yourself back at the bottom of the mountain that you thought. Now, that's what life is, though. It's a journey, And a lot of times we don't realize, we think it's the same mountain that we have to climb again, but it's actually a different one. Might have a few of the things that we've already learned in it, but do you find yourself grateful? Do you have like this gratitude for all of this happening? Because what if none of the gut stuff happened and you're just kicking ass as a bodybuilder and you're on tons of magazine covers, maybe then you would never have gone back and healed the emotional, the trauma, the mental stuff that had you stuck.
I am so grateful for everything that I walked through. I would not be where I'm at today.
Did you ever feel sorry for yourself?
For sure.
Okay.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Many times I was sitting there.
Sohail, honesty from a fitness person. Note that right there, brother.
Many times I felt sorry for myself. I felt, like I said, betrayed by my body. That's the ultimate. I feel sorry for myself. And I hated where I was at that period of my life so much. And now, though, the coolest thing is getting to look back and say, I am so grateful that happened. And I'm so grateful for everything that I had to heal through, because I really believe that is the purpose that we all have, is taking the things that we walked through, healing from them, doing the work, sharing our story, turning it outward, and then helping other people do the same. And that's when healing really starts to become full circle. And that's even where what I talk about in like my mastermind that I've created is the evolution. And we all have these things. And how do we feel so connected to our purpose, which our purpose may be external, outside of us, which is the doing, but connected to our internal purpose. Well, what is our internal purpose? Our internal purpose is truly getting and healing from all of the shit, all the trauma, all the things we walked through, getting back into the place of the core of really who we are, that we are not the things, we are not the achievements, we are not all the things that other people say about us, and that we are not even what we think that we are. Because we think we are a lot of things that we're actually not. The brain tricks us, and really realizing this is who we are, healing from that, and then helping other people do the exact same. And that avenue is going to look so different, right? For so many different people. But that's where we're like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense.
Yeah, so then if I wasn't a good listener, then I would ask you, so Rachel, having gone through everything you've gone through, tell me who you are, because it's a big thing to you. And yet it seems like, and please correct me because I hope I'm wrong, but maybe I'm not. It seems like maybe your answer would be similar to mine, and it would be very similar to the river allegory. I'm different every day, but I'm very conscious that I'm on my own path and I'm trying to be the best me, whoever that is, that I can be. And that's a very new age answer. But the last time someone asked me a question like that, I think that was pretty close to my answer, because I mean, there's days when I know it's going to be a tough day because it's going to include a lot of business confrontation, and I put on the armor and I go to fucking war. And there's days where I know today's going to be a lot of hugs and a lot of encouraging for the staff. And then there's days where I just have to chill and I got to take care of myself because I'm worn out. So who I am is ever changing. I like the word evolution. I like evolve because humans are so complex. But if someone asked you that, who are you? What would you say back?
You want the answer I'd give to most people, or the answer I'd give if I'm gonna go real wooey?
Wooey. I'm real wooey. You want to go knock out some ayahuasca next Saturday?
I'll give both answers.
Let's go.
So,
Bring your boyfriend. We'll go to Austin. I'm going. It's gonna be awesome. Have you tried that yet? Are you gonna? Are you interested in it?
I'm not.
No?
Yeah.
Even though you're a meditator, it's amazing. Mm-hmm. It's an amazing experience.
I've heard a lot.
All right, what's your wooey answer?
I think we can't know who we are ever. We only can know who we're not, because who you are is when you're not trying to figure out who you are.
So who are you not?
Who am I not?
Who are you not?
Well, we can go through a long list, but I am not my achievements. I'm not the things that I do. I'm not my body. I'm not the things that I have. I'm not what other people say about me. I'm not what I even say about me. So I am who I am when I'm fully present. That's who I am. And you can't give words to that. That's me. That's me and my being. That's who I am. Now, if you were someone who asked me and I didn't really know you and I wasn't going to go wooey, I would say I'm the encourager. I'm the healer. I'm a visionary, and I'm a creator. I'd say that's who I am.
How fulfilling is it? Does it even come close how fulfilled you are when you help someone find answers and get through what you've had to go through? Does that even come close to getting a magazine cover?
Doesn't even come close.
It's just so much. What's the difference there? Just how much deeper
For self or for others? For ego. And it's not even self.
Yeah.
We say it's for ego, right? Because when your worth is also in all of these achievements, it really comes down to I'm greater than, right? Ooh, I have this, I'm greater than thee. I'm greater than.
Yeah,
and
I have a
it's this
larger
whole-
stack of achievements than you do.
Yeah, and
or-
it comes down to like, imagine this: if everybody had mansions, if everybody had, the fast cars, would it be cool? No, because everyone had it. Then it would be cool to live in a log cabin and to be in the middle of woods and be very spiritual, because then you'd be different. So we care about being different. We care about that. Ultimately, we're always stacking other people up. If someone's better looking than us, we say, oh, I feel diminished. Or we don't say that, but we feel diminished and we feel less than. Oh, well, if we feel better looking, we can do this in a lot of different things, whether it's looks or body, whether it's what I've accomplished, what they've accomplished. We stack ourselves up and we either feel greater than or less than. Our self gets diminished or our self feels a little bit more up high. And that is really the ego right at the core. And it's stupid at the end of the day. And I think when you start to realize that is a delusion, it's a delusion.
And that's a big problem with social media.
Yeah.
The comparing, right? It's just, they are better looking, they're richer, they're cooler, their highlight reel's better than mine, whatever it is. You built your business on social media. You started your Instagram kind of when Instagram started, and you've built it to what it is now. And we know, because we talk about it so much, the problems. Social media is this, it's that, it's the downfall of modern society. But can you talk about the benefits that social media have afforded to you in terms of you building your business, but then also you being able to be findable to other people who have similar issues? There's a lot of people walking around who are like, I'm at the end of my rope. My doctors say I'm fine, and I don't feel fine, and I don't know what to do. And there are many stories like yours, but not DIY, but where people go online and they find someone like you who's found a way through and who's out there sharing that. What types of benefits should people be looking for from their social media instead of always focusing on the negative parts of it? What have you found to be the greatest benefits that social media has afforded you since you've started this journey and built your businesses, and now you're helping so many people?
Yeah, I'd say connection for sure. I'm able to be connected with people there's probably no way I would otherwise be connected with, whether that's for my business or just great alignments and relationships that I've been able to create. People that I now get to speak on stage with, I get a podcast with, that has greatly impacted my business. It's all been a byproduct of social media. And I wouldn't be able to reach the amount of people that I do. And I'm honored I get to share my story. I get to talk about it. And that's how I truly was able to grow my social media, is through sharing my story and being vulnerable. Like, I'm very vulnerable.
Yeah.
This
none of this is easy to talk. This is not your classic dinner conversation.
Yeah.
Right?
No, yeah.
And it's tough.
And I talk about these things too on social media. And I think I've created that space for other people to relate with their own experiences. So they hear my experience and I get to be, whether it's inspiration or like, okay, this girl's been through it, and they feel a sense of hope and they get to reach out to me and my team, and we get to help them by taking a functional medicine approach. And I get to work with people who are all over the United States. I get to work with people internationally, because we can even do some of the lab testing international too with our functional medicine practice. So I get to reach people literally all across the world because of social media. So yes, social media, and it depends how you're using it. It's like a tool. It's like money, right? Too, at the end of the day, I view money can be used for really bad things. Money can be used for great things. Social media can be used for really bad things. Social media can be used for great things. And we give it, again, a label. It's good or bad. It's really neither. It's who's behind it and how are you using it and what's the intention. And it's easy for sure when you get on there and peer pressure and comparison, there is for sure more of that. But I think that's where we need to become a bit more conscious of, okay, what is really coming up for me? Is this taking away from areas of my life? Is this adding to my life? Am I getting on there just to waste time, to distract, to avoid, to numb? am I getting on there because I want to share a message? Like, I don't get on social media to consume. I get on social media to run my business, to share, and then, yeah, definitely check in with some people that are meaningful in my life. But a lot of people get on there and they're consumers. And I think if you're a consumer too, then you need to be really careful of what content you're consuming. And after, how do you feel?
Yeah.
Do you feel better? Do you feel worse? If after consuming content, you're like, I feel worse about myself. I feel like I don't like my body. I feel like, I just like the world is awful. Like it's falling apart right now. Like unfollow those people. Like you are like creating your own world on there.
Yeah, maybe just mute those political ones just for a week and see how much better you feel.
Except maybe Patrick Bet-David, but I like him.
Yeah, Patrick's great. He's very talented. He's a great conversationalist. Valuetainment is an awesome effort that he's putting out there, and I think it's got legs. I think that what he does is great. I mean, he talked to Antonio Brown for like 3 hours. He talked to Andrew Tate for 6 or something. I mean, he can get people talking, and he calls them out too. Or more than anything, I think he wants to know. He's trying to figure out what's making you tick and how are you arriving at the conclusions you're arriving at, which I find to be very inspiring because I'm a very curious person too. And I just think it's really interesting when, especially what has me on fire is meeting people who have met adversity, but they didn't dwell in that. They put a plan together for better or worse. Probably some of the things you tried when you were trying to get healthy failed, and some of them succeeded. And did you learn through trial and error on some of that?
Yeah, for sure. There was a lot of diets I tried, and I think part of it too was thinking that I could only heal my gut from changing my diet, even too early on after I got past Western medicine. I just changed my diet and my training, right? And that's where, one of the things I always say is the whole person must heal for the gut to function optimally. Half of the equation really is your diet. That's a stressor. It is your exercise. It's the supplements that you're taking. But if you're not dealing with your trauma, your shit that's inside your head,
well, that's harder,
your gut's
right?
not going to be able to heal. And that's the long game. And that's the healing work that I feel like really never ends, because anytime you're up leveling also in your life, and that's what I love entrepreneurship. My new page on social media that I'm starting from a mastermind is called evolved_women. But it's called conscious entrepreneurship is like the first line that I have on there, because it's really about being conscious. And I think meaning present in the doing, in the creating, like loving what you're doing so much and creating from that place. But also as a byproduct, when you're up leveling, right, there's new levels that you realize you have to heal from. And that's normal. So it's a good thing if you're noticing, wow, I'm more triggered. These things are coming out. I thought I was good. You probably did heal it to a certain layer, but now you're up leveling in your life and there is this new layer that is there. And the only person who really ever gets in our own way in our growth, right, is ourself. And why do we get in our way? Because of our beliefs, because of, the ways that we limit ourselves. So when we can heal those parts of us, right, then we can step into that next level. And that's what happened for me. I got my business to a certain point, and a lot of it, like I said, was masculine, kind of pushing myself. But what got me here was not going to get me there. And it was from this place where I was, again, finding myself burnt out and doing kind of this repetitive cycle. And my business was successful. Like, it definitely was. And I had done a good amount of healing where I really had to get into this next level of my own healing, which was my next level of entrepreneurship, which was my next level of helping other people as a byproduct of also what I was doing on myself, too.
What took you from that level to that level? What are you doing? You talking to counselors? You talking to...
I always work with a coach. I have a coach for everything. So, I've had a business coach for the last 3 years, Bedros Koulian. He's been awesome. I'm currently working with a coach that's more so does a lot of ego work. Her name is Alejandra Cristofil, and she's been awesome. So I've been working with her on a lot of the stuff is what we call it, right?
Sure.
That comes up along the way, which are limiting beliefs. Speaking for me is something that I've not always had. I literally gave a speaking engagement just this last month, and I was backstage in the green room with all these speakers, and I'm like overhearing this conversation, and these two speakers were like, I feel like speaking's a gift. You either have it or you don't. You're born with it or you don't. And it's funny, I kind of like jumped in there and I was like, I disagree. And they're like, you do? And I was like, yeah, I disagree. I'm like, I think definitely there are certain people who are born with the greater gift of oration. And there are certain people who carry more confidence and who can articulate themselves maybe a bit better. However, speaking for me is definitely not something that I was born with. I was like 100%. And you've heard my story now.
Yeah.
And I said, this is something I've learned. And I think a lot of people can learn this skill. It's a muscle. You just keep doing it over and over again until
Totally
it
agree.
no longer scares you. But that was a belief system, right?
Totally agree. When we were being raised, my parents made us give speeches, do public speaking. That was part of our curriculum. I mean, it was, you're doing this. And everyone in our schools had to do that. And some took to it and some didn't, but everyone had to do it. And I think they're all better for it, because what do they say? The biggest fear any of us have is public speaking. I actually think the biggest fear many of us have is being embarrassed or being like called out.
Public speaking.
and I think that's where
It's failing at public speaking, right? And freezing. And
where in this whole healing process did your ability to grow your interpersonal relationships start to improve? If in high school you're giving one-word answers on dates and people keep breaking up with you or whatever, and then
that was junior high. High school,
Okay.
I was a bit better.
You're a bit better?
Yeah, junior high.
you watched some Saved by the Bell, so you learned how to talk on dates and stuff, so you're good to go on that.
You know, the confidence slowly developed. I think I observed a lot of people, and I think for a long time it was kind of, when I was younger, mimicking people. I was like, okay, like again, that's like what we do as kids, right? Though, like that's not
Yes.
something that's special to me. That's what we all do. We observe. Okay, I like how this person does this and this, and we kind of like start.
Well,
to
and a
create
lot of
this-
women get that
this
from their
mask.
mother. Yeah. So if you didn't have that modeled for you real well, then obviously that set you back.
Well, that's why we create a mask, right? So we create a mask that we walk out in public and we wear of how we think we should be. This is how I should show up. This is how I should talk. This is how I should interact with people. Then we go home and we take off the mask. So I had that to a certain point, and where I'm at right now is it's not the mask. You know, I come off with the mask, and what you see is what you get. This is who I am. I will stumble over my words. I will maybe stutter here and there. I will also talk about things that are very intimate and vulnerable, but like what you see is what you get ultimately at the end of the day. And I'm not trying to be anybody else. I'm just trying. I mean, I'm not trying. I think that's the key right
Yeah.
there. So I think that's the difference in where I'm at in my healing journey. I think where I realized when I struggled even with speaking too, it was, how do I feel like I should show up? How do I think I need to be? And that's, like I've said, I don't think that's unique to me. I think we all think that way. When we go out, we get in work, we have like different versions of ourselves, right? In a lot of different settings. And I have one version of me now. Some people get more of me, for sure. Like my family and my boyfriend, like they get more of me, but they get the same me. They don't get, there's not different versions of me.
Well, yeah, and you start to grow in terms of confidence of how to carry yourself when you put in the work. So, right, you can't just roll out of bed one day after playing Call of Duty for 10 years straight and be good at whatever. You got to get out there and fall on your face a few times, get your teeth knocked in a few times, get up, regather yourself, and keep moving forward. The moving forward part is the most important part. Whatever that looks like to you, if it's a half a step or a mile or a marathon every day, just a little bit forward makes all the difference. It makes all the difference in terms of, I think a lot of people struggle with self-doubt for whatever reason. I mean, I do. Am I on the right track? Yeah, I'm on the right track. I mean, maybe it lingers for a minute. I try to be like, nah, we're good. That's the wrong thought for right now. I don't have time to think about you right now. This is the task at hand, right? There's an influencer, what's his name? Hormozy, Alex Hormozy. And he always talks about it. Prove your self-doubt wrong with results, with action. Now, I know that flies a little bit in the face of just achieving and hustling and moving forward and all of that, but you can move forward with a day without knocking down some goals in the day.
Right? So you can be like, I can do this, then your mind's like, no.
Well, and you
can't.
talked about manifesting.
To prove it with yourself with small wins, ultimately.
You bet.
It's small, little incremental wins. And I think even, for me, it's been small incremental wins of being literally myself and seeing that is the most value that I can bring to every situation. and doing that little by little, and then me stepping into a place that is fully confident. And it's not a confidence that comes from a place of, I'm being this person and this person is confident of this image that I'm putting on. Is I'm confident because I've stacked those itty bitty little wins of being just fully authentic, being myself, being vulnerable, and knowing that is the gift that I get to give the world.
Is your thought life, obviously you talk about being awake, being conscious, thinking, okay, a negative thought comes through, are you cutting that off and sending it back? You letting it come through? What's your, do you self-talk at all on your way here where you're like, let's go knock this podcast out? I talk to a lot of people on the podcast. I ask them, do you have a chip on your shoulder? Do you still carry a chip on your shoulder? There's a lot of successful athletes. We laud them for that, right? You got a chip on your shoulder. I got something to prove. Some people say yes. Some people say no. I ask other people, do you talk to yourself? Some people are like, oh yeah, full conversations in the rearview mirror.
We all talk to ourselves, and anyone who says they don't talk to themselves,
do you talk to yourself out loud though? If someone bugged your car, would they be like, what?
Not really.
Oh,
I've done.
They would be like, what? If I bugged the truck, if they bugged the truck.
I've done affirmation type stuff before, but truly, I'd say when I notice like negative anything come up, which we could say negative emotion talk, right? There's that feeling of that uncomfortability that we get there too. I think one is just getting to a place of noticing it, noticing your thoughts. I'm just like, oh, that's funny. Why is that coming up there? And I just start to notice that that's the thoughts, and I disassociate. And what I mean by that is that I am not my thoughts, that's just the thoughts that are coming in that I'm creating right now. And I'm like, oh man, yeah, no wonder I'm feeling this way is because of these thoughts. And then I just kind of allow it to be there. Sometimes it is breathing into it, because if there's an emotion, so emotion is the physiological sensation of the thought, right? And there's really only 3 emotions. There's a lot of feelings, but there's only 3 emotions. There's sad, angry, and happy. Those are the 3 emotions that we have. Now, all the other feelings are, you could put them in each of those departments. So you notice, let's say an emotion that is just uneasy is a byproduct of whatever that thought is. One, you disconnect from it. You realize that you are not your thoughts in that moment that is coming up, and then you just allow it to be there, because whatever you resist persists. If you're like, I want to get rid of this thought, I don't want it to be there.
It's blocking the current.
It's gonna just continue to fester more and more. That's going to create more anxiety. So you just allow it, you just notice it, and then you breathe into it, and then you become present. And from there, you're just like, you notice that space open up, and that's it.
That meditation, that thought awareness, that's something that you took right to, or was that tough for you to get to it? Did you pick right up on it when you first started?
No, it's definitely a muscle. Same thing. You build this.
Did you start with like a 1 minute silent, or did you start with a guided meditation? That's usually what I tell people. Try a guided meditation.
I don't do long meditations anymore.
Yeah.
I more so just try to practice. This is really mindfulness, right? In my life. Right. And I can sit there for an hour and try to, like, my thought comes in and release it and release it and release it. And I've done meditation work, and I think it's great. But I want that in my life. And so I practice it constantly throughout the day when I'm noticing just chatter. And there's times we need our brain. Like we need to be thinking. It's a tool, right? I'm sitting down, I'm thinking, I'm using this. And then there's times where like whatever is going through your head is not serving you in any ways. There's nothing it's doing. It's the same repetitive thoughts you've had, the same day yesterday and the same day yesterday. And it's in those moments, if you can create awareness, and then you can, one, just notice it, and then allow whatever is to be there, and then just bring yourself back into being present. And just that practice of doing that over and over again, I think that's meditation. Truly at the core, that's becoming more present. And we can say it's like a meditation act, but I think I just choose to live more of a meditative life, and I use my brain when I need it. Like I said, I run a business. There's a lot of doing in that. I'm constantly creating, manifesting, and I just choose to do it from this place now.
Well, I think that it's important to understand that your emotions come from the thoughts you think. Mm-hmm. And so if your emotions are running away, you let them run away too many times in a day, especially as you start to put some years on your life. The older you get, the less just natural energy you have. You do everything possible to improve your wellness, fitness, longevity, and all of that. But what I've learned is, man, my energy is so important. It's right behind time as the most important things that we spend every day. So what I spend my time on, I make those decisions, especially as an entrepreneur. Can I be smarter about some of those decisions? Do I get excited and go down a rabbit trail on something because I feel inspired sometimes? Sure. Is that part of being an entrepreneur, is that you can feel inspired and you didn't have to punch a clock so you can go chase an idea for a minute? Absolutely. But then also my energy. Stop watering the plants that won't grow, man. Like, do you run up against that when you're trying to coach somebody and you are pouring yourself in? Coaching is so, people don't understand. I come from this sports coaching background. You don't understand. A passionate coach who's all in is pouring so much energy into the effort. Do you get there with someone where you're like, I think you might need a different voice because we're not making progress? Is that something that you are conscious of, or is it early enough in your coaching where maybe you feel, because I felt like this once too, maybe you feel like you can help everyone. And there are some people who, whether it's the way I say it or whether it's the tone of my voice or what, I don't know, but they're not getting any help from it. And we gotta move on because that energy is getting wasted now. They're not taking anything I'm saying and running with it. They're not improving. They're just staying stuck all the time. Has that been hard for you, or are you feeling your way through that?
It used to be hard because I used to attach myself that it was something that I didn't do good enough in. Now I realize that a lot of people aren't where they are fully ready for the healing, and they're not ready. They may say they're ready, but saying you're ready is very different than actually truly being ready. And now I know it's not about me. So I think being able to detach from that now has helped me a lot, and knowing that I can't help everybody, and I can't help people who aren't really ready for that. They aren't ready to hear it. They're not ready to receive it in different ways. My coaching is very different. I definitely coach and I pour in, but I like to also just ask a lot of questions. And I really guide people to helping them find their answers, especially when I'm getting in the coaching side of it all. Now when I'm going over labs and protocols and stuff, like I'm in the driver's seat and I'm saying like, okay, this is what's off, but really asking people, what are you hearing? How is this landing for you? What is coming up for you in this? What is the meaning that you're making of this? Okay, what does that mean in terms of what you're going to do based off of that meaning that you've created from it? And helping guide people, because people very rarely create change based off of what they're told, but they create change based off of what answers they come to themselves. So that's how I view myself now as a guide. I help guide people to answers. I give answers with the testing. I give them my knowledge, and I'll even sometimes say, hey, do you want my opinion on this? Do you want what my viewpoint is? And I'll share them with what my viewpoint is. I think this is happening because of this, because of this, because of this, and I think this is what you should do. How do you feel? How's that landing for you? Does that feel like it's landing for you well? And then they'll say, yes, I think that's right. That's landing for me. Or they'll say no, right? But it has to land and it has to connect for that person. And sometimes it doesn't. And then that's not about anything about my coaching. That's more so about what they were ready for.
When you connected with your first coach, because you said coaching is very important to you, how did that happen? Did you see someone else taking big strides, making big progress, and ask them like, how'd you get there? And they said, oh, I got a business coach. You got to do this. Or how did that originate?
How did I first get a business coach?
How did you? Yeah. What made you make that decision? That's big business now. There's gurus everywhere. Yeah. Everybody wants to be your life coach, your business coach. I mean, that's my observation, especially in the entrepreneurship space, right? Get a mental health coach, get a fitness coach, get a business coach, get a this, get a that. At the end of the day,
I'm very selective with my coaches. I will only pick a coach who is literally light years ahead of me and what I want to create.
How'd you find your first one?
Actually, he was a friend for a while, Bedders Koulian. Most people know him, Google him.
Yeah, he's badass.
Serial entrepreneur.
Yep.
And I had
heard
him.
Best beard in the world, man.
He actually came on my podcast when I launched it in the middle of the pandemic. And he came on, and then he invited one of his other coaching clients, Tony Stefan, to come on because he was a registered dietitian and it was a health podcast. He's like, oh, Rachel, why don't you have him come on? And Tony Steffen came on and he shared his story. He shared his story about how he went from making $50,000 a year as a registered dietitian working for Lifetime Fitness to becoming a millionaire by the age of 30. And I heard his story and I remember thinking, man, if this guy can do it, I can do it too. And that's what I get to give to other people now, right? Whether it's my health and healing story or whether it's even my business and my entrepreneurship story. But I was on a text basis with Bedros, so I texted up Bedros literally, and I'm like, I want to work with you. No idea how much it cost, right? And he texted me back and he's like, can you hop on a call in 30 minutes? I'm like, sure. We hop on a call 30 minutes later. And, I think I was making like $6,000 a month at the time. I'd started my business in 2017 as a one-woman show. I'd just gone through, a really bad breakup, 5.5 years where, I was just trying to refine myself. I was 26 years old at the time. And I'm on this call with Bedros, and he proceeds to tell me about all these men who he's helped become a millionaire by age 30. Tony Steffen, Vince Del Monte, and Jason Phillips. There's 3 of them. There's only 3 guys. They were all guys. And ego at the time of my life with where I was at, I said to Bedros, Bedros, I'm going to beat all those guys. And I made a decision, though, in that moment that I was going to. And he proceeds to tell me that it's $50,000 to work with him for the year. And I was like, Bedros, I don't have $50,000. It's in a pandemic. Everything has shut down. I don't even have any money coming in. I make $6,000 a month. I just went through this insane breakup. I'm on my own. I had saved $25,000 and that's all I'd saved. And I thought I was doing pretty dang good because when you come from being a broke kid, you hoard your money. So I was the best saver ever. I was like, I'm not spending any of it. I just hoarded all of it. And I was like, well, do you have a payment plan? This is me on the call with him. He's like, yep, I have a payment plan. I can split into 2 payments, $25,000 down now and $25,000 due in 30 days. Okay. I said, okay, hung up the phone. My heart fell into my butt in that moment.
Yeah.
And I had 30 days to find another $25,000. I wired over every last penny I had in my bank account, which was that $25,000 in the middle of a pandemic. And I ended up actually getting the COVID relief fund.
Oh, there you go.
For exactly $25,000.
No shit.
And I knew exactly in that moment that I was in alignment and of exactly where I was supposed to be. And after I wired over every last penny I had in my bank account, plus that COVID relief fund, I started working with Bedros and coaching, and I scaled my business to $1 million that very first year of working with him. And to this day, we did over multiple $1 million here in 2022, 0 ads, fully organic, all from my story and the power of social media. So
the coaching, this is how it's been explained to me. In athletics, it just compresses.
It's time collapsing.
Yeah.
You're time collapsing.
Because you're not trial and erroring a bunch of
I'm not trial and erroring. I'm working with
business.
someone who says, Rachel, do this, this, this. And I trust this person. I better, right? 100%, where I'm like, okay, yep, I'm going to do that. And there's a bit of that hustle involved because I got a lot of money on the line here. And I want to, we pay for what we want to pay attention to. So I'll never do free things for anybody, even my friends, because people don't follow it. I've done nutrition plans, anything. Yeah. So I had money invested. I was ready to hustle. And I made that decision that it was something that I was going to do. And I did it 100%.
How did you get to that 100% trust with him though?
I needed to trust myself, right? I trusted myself that if I had the direction that I would. That was the main piece. I didn't need to trust him fully. I needed to trust myself. And I trusted the fact that I did trust that he would give me the direction. I had, some credibility from Tony Steffen. He had been my friend. We had some rapport. And I trusted, most importantly, though, in myself. That with all I needed was someone to point me in the right direction and
Gotcha.
who I was, that I would make it happen. And I think a lot of people, they either don't trust the coach or they don't trust themselves. But it's one of those two, because if you trusted both, why wouldn't you do it, right?
So to finish us off, a day in the life. What do you, when you get up in the morning, what's the first thing you do when your eyes open? You said 5:30 usually? You're up pretty early?
I drink 20 ounces of water.
Okay, love it. What's your bedroom setup? Blackout? No TV.
Blackout, eye mask, meditation music sometimes playing in the background.
No TV in there.
No TV.
Okay, how long
I
have you
haven't
been doing
watched TV
that
in
for?
2 years.
Good for you. You're probably better off for it. Okay, so up 20 ounces. Then what?
I'll start brewing coffee, brush my teeth, make my way over to my couch where I get out my Bible and I get out my journal. I do kind of a combo. Sometimes I'm sitting there in meditation. Sometimes
You gotta let
I'm
the dogs
moving.
out somewhere in
Yeah,
there.
she goes out a little bit later.
Okay. All right.
She's pretty good. My dog's like a cat. She just let her out twice a day and she's happy.
The hell?
She's like, well, she's 9 years old and
That's awesome.
she's great. So she's usually with me on
See,
the
it's
couch.
weird I know you have a dog, but I asked your assistant because I have a gift bag to send with you, and there's some animal supplements in there, so I can't waste them on people who don't have. So I said, yo.
Yeah.
So that's how I know. But
Yeah. So on the couch, I get a little bit in the Word. Sometimes I read, sometimes I meditate, sometimes it's a little bit of each of it. I just give myself time to just kind of be for a little while with myself, and whatever I'm kind of feeling that day is what I do. That's typically where I get a lot of my ideas too. So I'm writing them down as they come in. I don't try to make them come in. They just come in. Typically from there, I throw on my workout clothes. I either do a workout at home or I head off to the gym and I do a workout, and I come home and I dive into my day.
I haven't heard look at my phone yet for your morning.
No, there's no phone.
Are you super conscious about how much time you spend on your phone? And is that
I'm not perfect for sure. Sometimes like I'll get ideas and I'll write things down in the notes section on my phone, and then I'll stumble across something, but I'm just conscious of the fact that normally if like when I do that, it opens the door and I see other things, and
yeah.
then I'm gone.
Right. What's your do you try to limit your time on social media? Because you probably have a team who helps you with your direct messages, etc., which is super smart. And was getting like an assistant, was that something that your coach helped you understand? Like, this is going to help you. And was that a step when you got someone to help you out that way?
My first step in my business was hiring on 3 other registered dietitians so I could clone myself, so I didn't have to do all the coaching myself. From there, I hired an assistant, and my assistant actually ended up outgrowing. So now I have Michael, who's my director of operations, and then I have an assistant who I just brought on this year to do more media stuff, social media team, and all of that. But I've hired every time I've gotten to a point where I've realized it's cost me more money to do the work myself. And then I bring someone on so I can continue to have my 5% in what I need to do, which is really being the coach, leading my team, speaking and podcasting, and being the face of Rachel Scheer Nutrition, and being the visionary. A bit of an integrator too.
The first time, are you?
A little bit. I don't love it, but I'm kind of the best for it right now.
Yeah, that's the hard part when it's your deal.
Yeah.
You have to be able to sell the product, make the product, deliver the product before you have anyone working for you. Mm-hmm. Unless you're starting a business.
You have to be in every seat, and you should be in every seat in your business when you get started, because you're going to need to teach how to be that exact position.
Yes, and you need to know how hard it is to do or how easy it is to do. And that's bullshit. Like, that's not a hard job, man. I did that job myself for 2 years, along with everything else. Like, we can do better here. Having a staff, has that been a challenge? You're on your own for so long, doing everything yourself.
It was at first, right? And I think that's because I didn't fully trust, and I felt like as a lot of us do as entrepreneurs, I'm the only one who can do this way, and a lot of those systems that I had to break. And as I've had wins constantly throughout of offloading things and empowering my team, it's become easier, where like today, my day was awesome. I had a meeting with my team before this. I did some things for social media.
Virtual or in person?
Virtual meeting with my team. I worked a little bit on a certification course that I'm going to be launching here in the next 3 months, creating the outline and the game plan for that. I did a Facebook Live for RSN, my private group. And then I jumped in the ice bath. I came here, did a podcast. I'm going to go home, do a couple coaching calls, another speaking virtual event, and that'll be my day.
At the end of the day, what's your sleep hygiene like?
I'm a grandma. I go to bed so early. I love it. I try to start winding down by 7:30.
And what does that mean for you?
Winding down meaning phones put up, no more work. So winding down means like I'm disconnecting from the world, unless it's like just my person there, my pets, and I'm getting more into like being, right? So being to doing to being, and I just practice presence, and I like to calm my mind, and sometimes I go for walks, I go to the park, sometimes I read a little bit, journal a little bit, cook dinner, that kind of stuff. But it's really important for me to kind of exit in that way, and I've found it make massive impact in my business and mental health.
Doing the wind down at night, putting the phone up.
Putting the phone up, yeah.
Yeah, stop
I'm
chasing.
not saying, and again, there's certain scenarios, right, where you work later, you wake up earlier, and
Or
like,
you have a
that's
dinner,
fine.
yeah, sure.
But
yeah.
like that's my typical.
And now, so 20 ounces of water, then what's your first meal and when?
It varies sometimes. If I want to get up and I'm just feeling like I want to move quite a bit, I'll just do a double scoop of protein powder in the morning, and then I'll come back later and eat breakfast around
This is probably
9.
a protein powder that doesn't have everything that puts you...
PaleoValley.com/Scheer.
Okay, all right.
It's a gum-free, artificial sweetener-free whey isolate. Love it. And then I'll come back and I'll have breakfast, typically maybe around like 9 or so.
What's breakfast?
Breakfast is usually eggs and some kind of a protein, maybe eggs and steak, eggs and chicken.
A lot of whole foods in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any types of foods that you stay away from? Gluten, corn, soy, dairy, any of that?
All of that.
Yeah. What else?
Anything processed comes
Any
in
of
a
the
bag or a
fillers?
box or has a long list of ingredients. I mean, I eat real whole food. My diet's simple. It's animal proteins. It's good healthy fats that are like avocados, olives, olive oils, animal fats, veggies, sweet potatoes. I do eat a little bit of some white rice, basmati rice, but that's really the only thing that you could say is more processed, I guess, in my diet that comes in
Any
a bag.
nuts?
Yep, walnuts, pumpkin seeds.
All
Yeah,
right.
that's my diet.
What are your fruits? What's your fruit?
Berries. Love
Okay.
a lot of berries. Love avocado.
All right.
Avocado is a fruit.
Yeah, I guess it is, right? That's do you like tomatoes? Yeah. Is that a fruit or a vegetable? That's up for debate too.
I like them though, either way.
Yeah. The intentionality of what you're eating. What about what you're drinking? Are you never drinking alcohol? Are you really limiting the hell out of that?
I right now I'm not, but I mean, it's kind of like what you said, like where I'm at, depending on my life. I'm not afraid if there's a certain occasion where I'm like, you know what, I may have a little something. But right now there's just not really, I don't feel the need to have it in my life. So I don't have it in my life. I'm never going to be someone who grabs a drink by myself, it's going to be like, okay, I'm in Tulum, which I'm going to be there in 2 weeks, and maybe there's this awesome drink on the menu, and I might try it, and then that'll be it probably on the whole trip. Like, that's how I would kind of
Sure.
operate. It wouldn't be like all throughout the entire trip. It would be just that evening, and that'd be it. I'd be good. And then I'd probably not feel great the next morning and be like, oh, yeah, I remember why I don't like this.
Yeah, sugar in the mixer, and then alcohol, which is just really refined sugar.
Yeah.
So it's not
There's
going
like,
to make you
I
feel...
want to have maybe one margarita in Tulum, like just for the experience, but normally water. That's what I have here. And
Coffee in the morning, you said.
coffee with coconut oil and some ghee.
Are you going hard with the caffeine all day, or do you like stop that at noon?
Coffee in the
or-
morning, and then if I do anything after noon, I'll do a matcha green tea.
Okay.
Yeah.
The when you first got all that rolling, and when you help people with their health, are you having them document everything that they're eating and drinking for the first?
It depends on the person and what their goals are. Sometimes I'll feel a need for them to document. Sometimes I don't feel like it's a need. So it's very customized to each person.
When you first hired Bedros and you saw immediate growth, immediate improvement, he's probably showing you hacks that you had because we don't know what we don't know, right?
Bedros didn't show me any hacks. Bedros told me what moves to make, and I took action.
Okay, so when someone says, yeah, I got this coach and they showed me hacks or easy button stuff, that's probably...
I mean, I'm sure there's little things, but Bedros for me has been like very much like a visionary process.
Like refining your focus, like, hey, let's dial in on your story. Let's really, that type of stuff?
It's been more so, hey, what do you envision for your business? Okay, I want you to do X, Y, and Z. Go take action.
And was there a point in there where you were like, I want to do this for people? Or has this coaching effort on and this new mastermind that you're launching, is that something more that's started to take shape over the last several months?
It kind of came to me, honestly. I didn't envision myself stepping into being a coach. What actually happened is I had one of my previous clients reach out to me, who I still work with to this day, who started now getting into fitness and nutrition coaching because of our transformation, going through my entire practice. She had an autoimmune condition. She could never lose weight. I helped heal her from it all. She wanted to help other people. She's like, Rachel, I just feel like I really need you to help me. And so I offered to give her a Rachel Scheer nutrition certification, kind of business coaching to help her because of everything she got from it. And I coached her up, and she was incredibly successful from it. And from there, I started to get, she just raved about it and started to get more people to reach out about it. And maybe had some conversations, and he's like, maybe this is a thing that you do. Maybe it came so natural to me. I realized working with her too. Like I just was like, boom, 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 do this, do this, do this, do this. And she got incredible success. And then from there, I started taking on more and more clients. So it wasn't something that was so cool, right? I was in alignment, and it came to me just by doing good work, helping people, and someone coming to me and saying, hey, I really want you to help me in this area. And I'm like, well, I don't really do that, but I'll figure out what that could look like. And from there, now I'm doing one-on-one business coaching, and I'm launching a mastermind. And
like you said, the way you were raised, you turned you into a really good saver, but you didn't have this abundance mentality, which doesn't just pertain to money. Money's part of that.
Yeah. Wealth is financial success. Abundance, I always say, is really a complete 180. It is relationships. It is your connection to God. It's your connection to yourself. It is feeling that groundedness in yourself. And it is also wealth. It's all encompassing, but that's more so what abundance is.
Well, yeah. And it's that, like you mentioned before, it's that, hey, I'm going to figure this out. And I did. And I had to go down some dark roads to get there. Mm-hmm. But then I don't just hoard all that to myself. And now I'm good to go. And now I'm back on magazine covers. And it's this, oh man, look what I found. Look what I was able to figure out with the help of other people.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to help you figure it out too, which is really, to me, part of the meaning of life is going through things, figuring things out, and then going, dude, you gotta check this out. Mm-hmm. This is unbelievable what I just found over here, which I've had some friends in my life the last couple of years turn me on to things I was like, whoa, that's amazing. Mm-hmm. That I've then been able to help turn other people on to. And it's very, very fulfilling at a level that it's a much different sensation than closing the biggest deal you've ever closed or cashing the biggest check you've ever collected. And that is where you really realize that life is a river, and it's full of fish and a big current and lots of white water, but there's beautiful trees and a sun up above, and it's always moving. So you can either get moving with it and bring people with you, or you can stand there and try to hold it back, but that's never going to work because it's just not the nature of things. Well, Rachel, if people want to reach out to you, listeners and viewers want to reach out to you and connect with you, what's the best way to do that for coaching, for health, wellness, nutrition? How is that through your Instagram, the best way to reach out to you?
Website, rachelscheer.com. It's spelled like Rachel's cheer, but it's Scheer. Some people have asked if I'm a cheerleader. And then Instagram, @Rachel Scheer. My practice is @Rachel Scheer Nutrition. And my new business coaching page is _women, Evolved Women.
Awesome. Great name. It's my sister's name. Rachel, thank you for your time.
It's a good name.
You're a superstar.
Thank you.
Yeah. That was awesome. Thank you, Rachel, for your time. Man, just a wealth of information. Very similar podcast to the functional neurologist, Dr. Michelle's. These are just gems of podcasts. I hope that you enjoyed the podcast. If you didn't get to listen to the whole thing, you should go back, pick up the parts that you missed, especially about time management and about just managing your thoughts, etc. Rachel's awesome. Been looking forward to this one since we got it booked. I hope you enjoy the podcast. Love to know if you know somebody who should come sit in that chair. If you do, hit me up anytime on Instagram at Jess from the Northwest, and we'll see you on the next one. Hey, what's up? Thanks for checking out my videos here on the JESS Marshall YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe for sure. Hit that bell. Press that button to watch the next video. If you got a question you have about any of the topics I bring up in the videos, drop a question below, and we'll be sure to get an answer back to you ASAP. See you on the next one.